On the approach to Highway 40, still mainly occupying the right lane, though, leaving the left 2 lanes at speed limit commute. I'm Cameron Elliott in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today is going to be sunny and beautiful, warm. Highs will be in the mid-80s, a lot like tomorrow, but we do have some wind kicking up both today and tomorrow and Friday when we get a chance of rain. Right now it's 73 degrees downtown. Inside Sources is next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. 47-year-old Bentley Scow has been arrested on suspicion of murder. Salt Lake City police say the investigation into Scow started on Monday after he was seen pushing a utility cart. That cart had a body inside. Police tracked him down and discovered the two were actually roommates. They got into an argument and Scow reportedly killed him. The cause of death was determined to be a homicide due to blunt force trauma and asphyxiation. The two missing boys at the center of an Amber Alert have been found. Saratoga Springs police say they and the FBI safely located 22-month-old and 10-month-old Will and Wesley Richmond in Mexico with their father, Dane Richmond, who is now in police custody. Richmond is expected to be brought back to Utah to face 2 felony custodial interference charges. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Vice President J.D. Vance says he's optimistic about peace talks with Iran. ABC's chief foreign correspondent Ian Pannell has more.
The president expressing confidence that Iran will make concessions on its nuclear program, but Iran is not saying that at all. It's saying that it will agree to talk about it, but there's no indication that it's ready to make the kind of concessions that would be needed for the war to have had any major impact.
Senior members of the Trump administration will gather at the White House today to discuss the war in Iran. Your money at this moment, the Dow up 285 points to 50,747. Coming up, we've got another windy day coming this afternoon. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Spring cleaning isn't just for your house, it's for your life. If your job is getting old, it's time to clear the clutter and spring into IT. Go to My Computer Career.
My Computer Career helped me get the skills and certifications I needed to start a new life as an IT professional in months, not years.
Earn the certifications that top employers are looking for right now. Visit mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation to see if it's time to spring into IT. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Hey folks, Jay Broadbent here from Alpine Home Medical. I've been helping folks breathe easier for 29 years now. Trust me, at my age, I know a thing or two about needing a good night's sleep. Is your CPAP mask old and nasty? Are your masks, filters, or tubing from the pre-COVID era? Or just plain tired of the hassle of ordering supplies yourself? Switch to our resupply program. We handle everything. Automatic shipment straight to your door. Insurance billing and expert support. It's quick, easy, and keeps your sleep therapy on track. Doesn't matter where you got your machine from, anyone can join. Head to alpinehomemedical.com, click on the Easy Resupply button. That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Hyundai gives you America's best warranty on every new vehicle. It includes a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty, plus 24/7 roadside assistance. That's peace of mind from Hyundai. And these days, that's priceless.
Now, get the Hyundai Tucson for 0% APR for 60 months, plus 0 payments for 90 days. Visit your local Hyundai dealer. Offers end June 1st. Call 562-314-4603 for details.
Do you have the backyard blues because your grass isn't green? Revitalize your lawn with Revive, the fast-acting, organic-based lawn treatment for thicker, greener grass. Use Revive to ensure maximum moisture retention in your soil, especially when facing drought conditions. With Revive lawn products, get deeper watering, deeper roots, greener grass, and say goodbye to the backyard blues. Get your Revive today. Available as ready spray or granules at your local gardening center.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Here's Cormac Bone.
Northbound I-15 still just a little slow in Linden and from the point of the mountain up to Bangerter Highway. And a little slow approaching 13th South as well. South 15, though, that's heavier traffic from 5300 South down past the South Interchange to 7200 South. We also have some light scattered delays on South 15 from North Salt Lake all the way down into downtown Salt Lake. And if you get off at Beck Street, expect some stop-and-go traffic with that construction zone approaching Victory Road. It is still one lane, and it does wind, so we are having drivers taking a little extra time if you get off at Beck Street. May is Skin Cancer Awareness Month, and Swinyer Woseth Dermatology is reminding you to take care of your skin. Visit dwoseth.com and schedule your body scan today. dwoseth.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather today, sunny with highs in the mid-80s. 20-mile-an-hour winds, though, will continue through the afternoon. Tomorrow, the same, but then Friday got some isolated showers and thunderstorms coming in the afternoon. Right now, it's sunny and 73 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
I don't know about you, but I am breathing a sigh of relief this morning. Police say that 2 Saratoga Springs boys taken by their father to Mexico without permission have been found safe.
You know, and that was actually pretty quick because we were just talking about it yesterday. He was reported, the children were reported missing, and the father had been, we'd assumed that he'd gone into Mexico because they'd been pinging his cell phone. And law enforcement sent out an Amber Alert about that over the weekend. A 10-month-old and a 22-month-old late Saturday and early Sunday. He was supposed to be showing up at a deposition on Friday. Didn't show up. Fired his attorney. Sort of vacated his house and then ended up in Mexico.
Yeah, so I was super worried, and I saw that emotional plea from the mom. And you know what's interesting? One of the things she said is, you're always going to be their dad. Like, she wasn't hostile, it didn't feel like, towards the dad. I just want those kids back. So there was a massive hunt. It went across state borders, also international borders, and they were found in the town of San Felipe in Mexico.
Right. He's now in custody in Mexico. He's facing several felony charges. We'll talk about those in the next segment and how he's going to be extradited if he is to Utah to face those charges.
So first, let's talk about the boys themselves and how they were found. This wasn't done in a vacuum. There was a lot of help. And again, we've talked about this yesterday. They were little. So a 10-month-old, I mean, most 10 months old are not walking, right? They're just little, barely hitting the toddler stage. 22-month-old, still not even 2 years old. So these are 2 little kids that were taken into Mexico by their dad.
And the FBI, Holly, has such technology now. And if you have a cell phone, you're going to be followed. You could be tracked anywhere. And it just pings at different locations. And so they found that he had he had a car breakdown or something in California, had some service done on his vehicle on Monday, May 18th, in Carlsbad, about 50 miles from the border, and then they found that his cell phone pinged at the border itself Tuesday morning the 19th afternoon at 4 p.m. Tuesday afternoon. So they knew that he had crossed into the border. They knew where he'd crossed into the border, and then it just became a matter of having the Mexican authorities, I'm assuming, we don't know exactly what happened, start looking for him.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk with an expert. This is Rhonda DeCare. She's the founder and executive director of the Missing in America Network. And I wanted to say, first of all, thanks for joining us, Rhonda. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
Can you talk about the process about finding these boys? Because first of all, I'm super happy that it ended so quickly and with such a positive outcome. But what kind of process goes into place when children go missing?
Well, when children go missing and they are believed to be endangered, like in this case, of course, authorities act very, very quickly. And they alert the public, and everybody's cell phone within radius goes off. And hopefully the public snaps into action and keeps their eyes and ears open. And the police are really looking for us to be their eyes and ears and to help them. And so it engages all of our communities to help them to locate these kids to keep them safe. And behind the scenes, they are pulling out no stop. I know that they have the FBI very early on involved in this, and they are getting to work. NCMEC, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, are working very hard behind the scenes. They're looking at data, they're looking at flock cameras, they're looking at any kind of piece of information, any tip that comes in to try and make sure that the children are safe.
Rhonda, can you tell us just the technology involved when someone activates the Amber Alert, how that occurs? Is it done by law enforcement? Because I know Sunday we all got this blast on our phones. How is that actually processed?
Well, every state is a little bit different, but basically the process is that the local law enforcement has to check off boxes. You know, was it an abduction? Is the child in danger? Do they have enough information? Have they done everything that they can to try and find the child? And if this is disseminated as an Amber Alert, will it help save these children's lives? And once they check off all these criteria in the boxes, then they submit it to their state police. And their state police ensures that all the boxes were checked. And then it's usually the state police department that then sets the Amber Alert in motion throughout your state.
I have a question. I don't know if you know the specifics, but when I got this Amber Alert over the weekend, it did say that these kids were endangered. And that their lives could potentially be at risk. Do you know the process generally to say, okay, this is a custodial dispute, custodial abduction? What would make police determine that these kids' lives were at risk?
Yeah, there has to be some kind of factual evidence. There has to be some kind of corroboration. And I'm not privy to what they actually had in this case, but in most cases, there has to be something like, there's currently another Amber Alert out of California, and that mother is no longer alive, and the suspect is the father. And so they don't just send out Amber Alerts for a custody dispute. There has to be extenuating circumstances where they believe that a child is in danger. And so, it's not a lot of people, that's a good point, though, because a lot of people believe that every child receives an Amber Alert, and that is not the case. It is only the ones that are endangered, and it is thought that by putting out this alert, it will save their life.
It seems like in this one, Rhonda, to follow up on what you just said, and I think you're exactly right. The father had allegedly quit his job, sold all the property in his house. I mean, he clearly had vacated, and it didn't show up for a divorce, a domestic hearing. What they weren't married, but it was a paternity action. He didn't show up for a deposition. Like, it seemed like he had made some plans, and that probably alerted authorities that this was more than just I'm overstaying my visitation this weekend.
Yeah, from cases that I've seen in the past, I think there's probably something more that we are not aware of as well, because you can't go from just packing up your house and selling things and quitting your job to the kids are in danger. So there has to be an element that maybe we're not privy to that led the police to believe that those kids were in danger.
Can you talk to us about the statistics for finding kids? How many are found safe? And what's the time frame, really?
Okay, so I would love to know in general, but those numbers are like the best kept secret in the United States. It's not transparent. I can tell you that through the cases that we work with, and we've worked with over 600 families now, 87% of our cases are found safe. But speaking of Amber Alerts in general, I think it's 70% are found safe within 3 hours of the Amber Alert, and 90% within 72 hours of the Amber Alert. And so those are huge high numbers when you understand that Amber Alerts are only issued when the children are endangered, kidnapped, abducted. And so Amber Alerts definitely work.
Thank you so much, Rhonda. That was Rhonda DeCare, founder and executive director of Missing in America Network. And I do think that this Amber Alert process has been great, Holly. It's been, somebody told me it's been 30 years. I didn't realize we've been dealing with it that
31
long.
now.
That was great. And this one was a success. For whatever reason, and the boys seem to be safe, and Dad's in custody. We'll see what happens when he gets extradited to Utah. We do want to talk about that and what's going to happen with the father now that he's facing charges. What he might not end up being charged with is kidnapping. We'll talk about why when we come back.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. Dee and I had the chance at Hale Center Theater to see the opening night of not only My Fair Lady, but Harmony. 2 great presentations right now on 2 amazing stages. I want to talk about My Fair Lady first. I've had the chance to enjoy My Fair Lady, the West End in London and New York on Broadway, and of course the iconic movie. But I have to tell you, I don't think I have ever enjoyed My Fair Lady more than watching it on the stage at Hale Center Theater. Spectacular staging, gifted performances, great music, the voices, incredible, and the costuming. You're going to love My Fair Lady. It's on now at Hale Center Theater. Then there's Harmony, the story of a 6-man German choral comedy group who gained great fame in the late 20s and early 30s, only to be undone by the Nazis. This is a powerful performance. Don't miss it. Get your tickets now. Harmony and My Fair Lady at Hale Center Theater, hct.org for your tickets.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. A change is coming that will impact every major market and workforce. You might have seen how you can buy empty houses in Japan or Italy for pennies on the dollar. Each of those countries has a diminishing population. Birth rates are less than their death rates. You might think these are anomalies. The country that has the biggest problem is China. A diminishing population means a smaller workforce, smaller tax base, smaller military, a greater number of retirees who need more health care and government services. You might say you're glad that this is not happening in the United States, but it is. Half of all states have declining populations. And if the trend continues in 5 years, we will follow most of the industrial world into less. Learn about how future economic and demographic trends impact businesses with an MBA from Utah State University. Go to utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
Kitchen and bath transformations start with AMC Building Materials. AMC Building Materials is a large kitchen cabinet and countertop supplier serving both wholesale and retail customers. AMC offers factory direct pricing on all interior remodeling materials, giving you exceptional value without sacrificing quality. Most standard items are available for quick payment and pickup right away. AMC Building Materials provides professional service, free design, and free on-site measurements, along with expert installation by top AMC professionals. From bold kitchen designs to beautiful functional bathrooms, AMC delivers outstanding value with styles you'll love. And best of all, most projects can be completed within just 10 days. Come experience beauty you can see, quality you can feel, and service you can trust. Get directions to the new AMC Building Materials showroom at 3678 South 700 West today and schedule your free estimate. Visit amckitchenslc.org. That's amckitchenslc.org.
The more you listen to your kids, the closer you'll be. So we asked kids, what do you want your parents to hear?
I feel sometimes that I'm not listened to. I would just want you to listen to me more often and evaluate situations with me and lead me towards success.
We're not adults, so just be there and listen. I just want someone to yap to. And I just feel like I'll be fine if someone just hears me talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk.
You're doing a really good job. And I don't think I tell you that enough. And I know sometimes we get into it and it's just hard on both of us. But, try to understand me more and I'll try to do the same.
Listening is a form of love. Find resources to help you support your kids and their emotional well-being at sounditouttogether.org. That's sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Pivotal.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-330-8323 now. drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-330-8323. That's 800-330-8323. What do you have to lose? Call 800-330-8323. Again, 800-330-8323.
Any Hour Services can help unclog any drain in your house. Whether you have a backup, a clog, or a slow drain you want fixed, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
And expanded Inside Sources.
Well, following up on the last story, the man who was accused of taking his children across the border, he is, despite the Amber Alert and the several-day cross-country manhunt, he is not being charged right now, Holly, with kidnapping.
So that was something that really stood out to me, Greg. So the two boys have been found safe. That's great. He is in custody. Also great. How can a dad who doesn't have custody take his boys across international borders and not face kidnapping charges?
So the reason is this: we have a lesser law. It's still serious. It's called custodial interference, which presumes that at least at some point the parent had visitation, had the
Right.
ability to be with the child, rather than just
he did, right? Because
Right.
he had them for a week.
Right.
And he was supposed to turn them back over on Saturday, but he actually left the country the
Right.
previous Tuesday.
And so I was a prosecutor for 8 years, and we had the hardest time with these because at what point does it become a crime? If you're an hour late, if you're 5 minutes late, or if you're a
sure.
week late, then that's a little more serious. Or in this case, when you're late and you travel across a state line, you travel across a border, it can exacerbate what would otherwise be a misdemeanor, custodial interference, into a felony. But to be kidnapping, you'd have to have had no right to the child at all. No right to have, like, your...
That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, like if you just grab a kid off the
Well,
street.
sure, that makes sense to me.
But for a parent to be charged with kidnapping, it would be really hard to prove. And by the way, custodial interference is much easier to prove for the prosecution, because what you're saying is, hey, we don't care what your custody was. You took him for longer than you were supposed to. Otherwise, the dad could say under a kidnapping charge, I didn't intend to keep the child. I just intended to keep him for longer than I should have. You know what I mean? That would be, I know you're raising your eyebrows, and I
I know,
completely
it's like,
understandably so. But I look at it from the prosecution's perspective, which count would be easier to prove to a jury.
Yeah.
And the custodial interference is easier because then you don't care about that he was once granted permission. You only look at whether or not he extended that permission. He extended what he was supposed to have done and when he was supposed to have brought the children back.
It's super interesting to me, and I understand what you're saying, although it seems pretty clear that this was planned out, right? I mean, he quit his job, he fired his attorney, he was selling his belongings, he emptied the house. I mean, he was planning on disappearing, it looks like to me.
And I think authorities could charge it as a kidnap, even though I've just said that we wouldn't normally. In part because, this isn't even an element of the crime, but when he took the kids out of the country, I mean that's a bit more than just taking them to Colorado or Nevada. Sure. You know what I mean? It shows a real intent to deprive the mother of her children more extensively than just for a couple of weeks. So will they up the ante to kidnapping? I don't know. But when they filed this, I read the probable cause statement. When the Utah County Attorney's Office filed this charge on the 24th, which was, 3 days ago, they knew that he was in Mexico. So that information was already available to them.
Okay, that would have been Saturday, the very day, the very day that he was supposed to have the kids go back to their mom.
Right.
So how would they already know that he was in Mexico if they didn't even know that he wasn't going to show up to hand the kids over?
Yeah, I'm looking at the probable cause statement, and they knew that what they say, and I'm reading the police statement here on the 24th, his cell phone, this is what we talked about in the last segment, most recent location informed the carrier that he was near San Diego on May 19th at 4 o'clock and near the Mexican border, and they said he likely crossed the Mexican border on May 19th. So they assumed because of his travels and that he lost cell phone coverage that he'd crossed the border there near south of San Diego. So yeah, I mean,
so what time? Like, what time was this probable cause statement issued?
So it was filled out on May 24th. It doesn't say exactly when, because it would have been a holiday.
Well, because
a weekend.
Right. The mom called the police. She said at 12:01. He was supposed to have the kids at the house at 12 o'clock. She'd been there a little early. She could see that it was empty. There was a moving van there. She called the police at 12:01, which to me would indicate, I mean, I guess if he doesn't show up for the hearing on Friday, that's your first indicator that there could be a problem. But he messaged her back and said, hey, I'm camping, right? So
yeah, he picked up the kids on the 16th. He was supposed to show up for a deposition on Friday the 22nd. He didn't. Mom thought something's wrong. They go check the house. They do what's called a welfare check on the 22nd, which was Friday.
Right.
They see that the house is vacated. There's nothing there. And he is supposed to show up at a deposition. They had some sort of a hearing for their custody dispute. And he doesn't show up for that. And he fires his attorney. And he sort of quits his job, moves out of the house. So now there's a much more heightened sense of what's going on. So the mom does call the police. They get started on it. And she was supposed to pick them up on the Saturday.
Oh yeah, which is the 23rd. I said
Right,
20. It was the 24th is actually a Sunday, so they took an extra day.
Right.
Okay,
So the police looked at the case. I mean, every time a parent is late bringing the child back, police don't want to get too worked up about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they wait until there's something much more. And in this case, there was much, much more allegedly.
Yeah.
I mean, the house
Right.
is vacated
Sure.
and the kids are gone. And then they find his cell phone pinging down in Southern California.
Yeah.
He actually must have had some problems with his car because he took it to a car shop in Carlsbad. Like, I don't know what the problem was, but that was kind of
And probably paid for it with her credit card.
right.
that they
Yeah,
could track.
I mean that was a terrible bad luck for him because then they had him right there,
Yeah.
and then they showed him getting near the border the next day.
You talked about his cell phone pinging, and we did have a texter ask us, can your cell phone be tracked if it's turned off?
The answer is no, because the way it's tracked is when it talks to a tower.
Okay.
So when it's on, the closest tower will pick up on it. Like, okay, there's a phone in this area, and then it will record that your phone is in that particular area. So if it's off, there's no communication with all the various towers, so that there's no way to know that you're at or near a tower.
Okay, so what about our producer Andy said you can track iPhones if they're turned off, and that's how you can find like if your phone has been stolen. I don't know how that technology works.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the FBI can look into certain things, but really, I'm just looking at the way that a phone tracks with the towers, and that's when you're actually communicating with the tower. So, I mean,
Mexico has cell phone service, so
Absolutely.
were they able to track him all the way down to San Felipe?
that's what we don't know. We know that he
Okay.
went into Mexico. How the Mexican authorities got him, we don't know.
That was pretty fast.
I mean,
it
he
feels
was
like.
sort of out of place there. He had a brand new Toyota Camry. He's got 2 little kids. He would have been an easy
Blonde
mark.
hair, blue-eyed.
Right, yes. And he would have been an easy, if they have an Amber Alert system there, which they probably don't, they at least had law enforcement notified, hey, this guy's entered Mexico, keep your eyes out for him.
Yeah.
And they found him pretty quickly, it seems like.
So I haven't seen news reports yet about how the boys are being cared for. We did talk about this yesterday, and you are assuming that there's some type of foster care system that is caring for the kids while their mom goes down there. How are law enforcement authorities going to bring Dad back across from Mexico?
Okay, yeah. So 2 questions. Bring the boys back, like you said. Mom will probably fly down and pick them up. You wouldn't dare put kids of that age on an airplane unattended.
No.
Some
No,
guardian
they're
or
too
somebody
little.
has
Yeah,
to
yeah,
go
yeah.
with them. She's almost certainly going to do that for their own comfort. So she's probably on her way there. She may be there by now. The father will be extradited, and extradition occurs when between countries that have extradition treaties, and the United States and Mexico have had an extradition treaty since 1980. They agreed that they would be able to get their people from their country out of the neighboring country if there was a warrant.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some rules of when they can and when they can't do it. But the United States and Mexico do, just like we have interstate compacts between states that we will extradite. So some countries don't have extradition treaties. People know you can go to, I don't want to mention any, but there are certainly countries in Central America that don't communicate with the United States. And you can hide out there.
Sure.
People do all the time.
Okay.
But Mexico, nope, it's there. And just as the Mexican authorities, if they've got somebody from their country that's committed a crime and they want him brought in from the United States, they know that the U.S. authorities will hold them. They can pick them up. The extradition requires that probably some Saratoga Springs, because that's the jurisdiction where this occurred, law enforcement will probably fly down to Mexico, take him into
Interesting.
custody, and bring him up. They won't.
What if he fights it? Can he fight it?
Yeah, you can have, just like the case we had, the
guy in Colorado.
The Wayne County
Yeah,
case. Yeah, he went to Colorado. He fought his extradition. But the only question for an extradition hearing is identification. is this the person we're looking for? If you can say, yep, that's the person, then the judge will say, okay, you're being extradited. Yes, you can fight it. No, it's not a very good fight.
Okay.
And it's kind of a waste of time. It doesn't count toward your sentence.
Thanks
So
for
you're
that,
wasting
Mr. Legal Expert. I appreciate it. It'll be interesting to see if his charges become enhanced. I don't know. Okay, next on Inside Sources, we're going to go to the Lone Star State and talk about a whooping in the GOP primary runoff for Senate. The incumbent, longtime incumbent, lost to the Trump-endorsed candidate by a lot. We're going to talk about that next.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. We're keeping an eye on a house fire in South Jordan near 3200 West and 10200 South. Fire Captain David Nelson tells us they've knocked the fire down, but 2 people were taken to the hospital.
We know that there were 2 people that were transported. We don't know the extent of the injuries or who they were related to, but we do also understand that nobody ceased in the fire, and we also understand that everyone was able to vacate the fire as well.
Fire crews will remain on the scene for the next several hours, monitoring hotspots, and then fire investigators will try and figure out what caused the fire. Wildland fire crews say they're already seeing a lot of dry cheatgrass on the hills around the Salt Lake Valley, similar to what they usually see in the middle of summer.
The cheatgrass cures, it gets really dry, ignites the ladder fuels, ignites the trees, and it can make a run.
Unified Fire Authority's Greg Vanderwerf says they'll be checking on the conditions at least every 24 hours as we head into summer. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Today, one of Matthew Perry's former assistants will be sentenced in connection with the actor's death. Kenneth Iwamasa, according to prosecutors, had injected Perry with multiple doses of ketamine per day, had been accused of injecting Perry with the fatal dose back in 2023.
Iwamasa has pleaded guilty to 1 count of ketamine distribution resulting in death. Prosecutors say he eventually became a cooperating witness, but only after he allegedly denied ever administering ketamine shots, tried to clean up evidence at the scene, and attempted to delete the digital trail by changing passwords on Perry's devices. His defense has responded to that filing, saying Iwamasa was vulnerable to the relationship dynamic which he fell into with Perry. In short, he could not simply say no to the star actor.
That's ABC's Trevor Alt. Your money at this moment, the Dow up 234 points today to 50,696. Coming up, another warm day, but wind will accompany it just like yesterday. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 9:31.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
1 in 5 Utah kids face hunger. And the summer months make things even more challenging because families can no longer rely on school meals to help them get by. These days, the situation is more dramatic than ever. That's why Utah Food Bank is again holding its annual Summer Business Food and Fund Drive, encouraging organizations of all sizes to gather food for donations for families. Beginning in early June and running through the end of August, the Summer Business Food and Fund Drive is your chance to make a difference for families seeking emergency food requests to help stretch their budgets. Rally your coworkers, friends, or a community group of any size to make a collection. Every dollar earned turns into more than $7 in the form of goods and services to help those in need. What are you waiting for? Organize your Summer Business Food and Fund Drive today. To find out more or to get ideas for your own DIY fundraiser, visit utahfoodbank.org.
I'm really interested to hear about how your parents talk to you at home and how do you think they can kind of break through to you?
It's just to talk about it. It's just seriously it's going to be awkward at first. But if you keep repeating it over and over again, it's just going to feel natural.
Keep going, and soon we'll just be able to talk about it.
Talking about mental health with your teens is the power of we in action. Visit intermountainhealth.org/teen mental health.
Progressive provides protection for your boat and other outdoor vehicles so you can explore new things.
Oh, I can finally try pesto.
We meant like water skiing.
I've just never had pesto.
Or maybe take the boat somewhere new.
I mean, is pesto spicy or sweet? Oh, guess we'll find out, right?
Right. Bundle home or auto insurance with your boat, RV, or motorcycle and stay protected with Progressive while you explore.
I don't know. Maybe I'm not ready for pesto.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now it's the final days of our Everything's on Sale event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses. Our Memorial Day event ends Monday. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Receive 4% cash back on cruises at uccu.com. Here's Cormac Bone in the traffic center.
Both directions of I-15 a little bit heavy near Bangerter Highway as you come down the hill or come up the hill from the point of the mountain. Also, southbound I-15 still pretty dense at the south interchange. Again, looking at the live shots, it's just merging issues. It seems no crashes there. Where we do have some very heavy delays is still on southbound Beck Street as you get off of I-15. That construction zone has just been real terrible. It's still only one lane, so it's just a slog approaching Victory Road as you come into Salt Lake County from Davis County. Use Superior Water and Air for all your HVAC and water treatment needs. Call 974-9090 or visit SuperiorWaterandAir.com. Superior Water and Air. We got this. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, not going to be quite as warm as yesterday, although we're looking at highs in the mid-80s, but it is going to be windy again today and tomorrow. We've got Friday, though. It starts to cool down. Saturday down to 72 and rainy. Storms coming in late Friday afternoon. Right now, 73 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
They say everything is bigger in Texas, including election losses, apparently. In the end, it wasn't even close. Current Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton beat incumbent Senator John Cornyn by 28 points in the GOP primary runoff.
Yeah, there was a primary, and there were three people came out. The two that came out ahead were Paxton and Cornyn. Cornyn, four-time
Yeah, he's been
Senator,
there since 2002.
Pretty popular. Paxton's got some baggage we'll talk about in just a minute. And now the stage is set for the general election in November, and the Democrats are hopeful with all these controversies and scandals that Paxton has that their candidate, James Tallarico, who's come out of the blue, will win the seat. Here's ABC's Jim Ryan with more on that.
The landslide victory was clear an hour after the polls closed. Now the Trump-anointed Ken Paxton has set his sights on his Democratic opponent in the general election.
James Tallarico is going to be nothing more than a Texas-based puppet for Chuck Schumer and the National Democrats.
Tallarico, meanwhile, was on Instagram last night to roll out a new campaign slogan.
The people versus Ken Paxton.
The Paxton-Cornyn contest will go down as the most expensive primary in U.S. history. Jim Ryan, ABC News in Dallas-Fort Worth.
This is even more an example of how much clout Trump still has within the party. I mean, he's like 6 for 6 or something with
these big races,
these big primaries, and he's been ousting incumbents who didn't support him and have newcomers coming in with his blessing, and they're winning.
Yeah, and I will say this. So first of all, the question is, will they win in the general? But Cornyn isn't somebody who was staying openly pushing against the president. He was pretty supportive of President Trump's agenda, but he didn't want to get rid of the filibuster, right? He didn't want to. There's a couple of things where it's like, well, you know, maybe he could have been a little closer to the president because he's been cozying up to the president for a long, long time. It's not like he voted for his impeachment, unlike one of the other ones, right? It's not like Thomas Massie insisting on the Epstein files. He's been pretty lockstep, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah, and Trump's endorsement apparently came in fairly recently. It wasn't. It was
just last weekend,
right? But boy, that endorsement made a huge difference because at the primary, Cornyn was actually ahead.
Yeah,
he was slightly ahead. Now there was a third candidate, but
right.
even if all that person's votes came over to Paxton, it wouldn't have created the numbers that we have here. So that Trump endorsement really push the needle, I think.
So what's interesting about Ken Paxton, I think, is that he is so scandal-ridden. It's
Right.
not even a question. Like, this isn't a he said, she said kind of situation. This is, I'm going to quote to you from the National Republican Senatorial Committee. So when his wife, former wife, filed to divorce him on what she called biblical grounds, it was because he was cheating on her.
Adultery, right.
So the NRSC, they've scrubbed this now, but it's, the internet, it lives forever. He says this, what Ken Paxton, this is the NRSC, National Republican Senatorial Committee, what Ken Paxton has put his family through is truly repulsive and disgusting. No one should have to endure what Angela Paxton has, and we pray for her as she chooses to stand up for herself and her family during this difficult time. So it wasn't just that, right? Paxton's former chiefs of staff testified that Paxton confessed to her and other staff members he was having an affair with his mistress. Impeachment articles in the Texas legislature allege that Paxton used the alias for Dave P. for a fake Uber account that he used to see his mistress. He was accused of using secret emails and burner phones to cover his tracks. He used his pal Nate Paul, who was convicted of bank fraud, by the way, to help hide his affair and give his mistress employment in Austin so he could be closer to her. There were 20 articles of impeachment filed against Paxton in the Texas legislature over alleged bribery, abuse of power, obstruction of justice, and he was impeached by the Texas House in a bipartisan manner. He wasn't removed by the Texas Senate, but he was impeached. And then he was indicted on security fraud charges, and he refused to disclose multiple out-of-state properties in his 2023 financial disclosures. I mean, at least that. And this is coming from his own people.
This just tells you even more and more the strength of a Trump endorsement, that a Trump-endorsed candidate with baggage
much baggage
will beat a non-Trump endorsed candidate with no baggage.
Everybody has some.
Right, everybody, but he doesn't have anything like that.
Right.
I mean that you look at national polls and you see Trump's numbers are at a record low, but we're talking about primary elections where the voters are party affiliated.
Yeah.
So even though Democrats and, let's face it, most independents are not favorable to Trump right now, Republicans seem to be, in Texas alone, 63%.
His
still think he's doing a great
base,
job.
Yep, his base is still there. So the president wrote on Truth Social over the weekend, Texas, remember, Ken Paxton was a great attorney general, probably the best in the country. One of the things that Ken Paxton did as attorney general was give a child sex abuser a 60-day sentence. Really inflaming, I think, people who were just outraged over really light sentences for people who are buddies.
Right. And if you're a prosecutor and you run for office, you're always going to be looked at for your wimpiest case. The one where the bad guy got the least sentence. That's just an easy target. That's an easy mark. He was the attorney general. He prosecuted. He must have done very well on maybe 99 other cases, but the one that looks bad looks really bad.
It looks really
and
bad.
That's the one that you say, hey, wait a minute, a child molester gets 60 days in jail or something like that.
I think there's more than just that one. But
right.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. And, Tallarico, yesterday he was on some kind of a talk show where they were claiming that Tallarico was vegan, as if that's a slam. But he said this, he goes, I was eating barbecue before Paxton had his first indictment. Right?
Ouch.
Ouch. Yeah. This guy knows how to swing. The other thing, too, is even though he was relatively unknown on the national stage, he was a state legislator, and he is still a state legislator, and he has talked about his bipartisan work and being able to pass bills that really matter to Texas, and he named a whole bunch of them, including strengthening the border.
Well, now that we're getting all these Trump-endorsed candidates through the Republican primary, their test comes in November. The test comes whether or not that endorsement will carry the day in November, because you're looking at people who are, let's face it, further to the right, more MAGA, and maybe less palatable to the independents. Certainly the Republicans will show up.
So this was the Republican runoff. right? So as you have Democrats show up for the general election, and you've got these independents, unaffiliated, or disenfranchised Republicans, right? There's polling that's all over the place. So I'm seeing some articles that are saying that the polling is neck and neck with Tallarico and Paxton, but I'm seeing other polls that say Tallarico is ahead by double digits.
Yeah, the poll I just saw that was pulled up on one of the stations here had them both at 45%.
Yeah. But I've also seen a 60-30 split. And so we'll see right in November. But Tallarico has, I think, a decent chance. They haven't had a Democratic senator from Texas since 1970, I think. But he could be the one that flips it this time.
And Cornyn had served for 24 years.
Yeah,
I mean,
a
talk
very,
about
very long time.
switching things up. Yeah, that'll be interesting to watch. We're going to watch a lot of those races in November to see how much that Trump endorsement carries the day with the general election. But when we come back next, the intersection of faith and artificial intelligence. We've talked about a lot of things with artificial intelligence. Let's talk about how faith and artificial intelligence work together, and a conversation after the break.
I'm Christian Staples with Arctic Spas. Ever wonder why I say Arctic Spa, the only spa built for Utah's harsh climate? Well, we are the world's most northern manufacturer of spas, and we are built for the cold climates. We are just more heavy duty. It is commercial grade, but built for your house. We use fiberglass instead of ABS plastic. We use thicker, stronger, better insulating covers. We use our heat lock insulation to utilize the excess heat from the motors to help heat the water and protect the equipment. Arctic Spas are designed to last longer and be less expensive for you over the long term. Arctic Spas are known for their water care automation with our automatic saltwater system and our automatic pH control. We have it, no one else does. This makes it easier and more enjoyable for you to own an Arctic Spa. Find the perfect Arctic Spa for you at arcticspasutah.com or visit any of our 3 stores covering all of Utah in Salt Lake, American Fork, and St. George. That's why we say Arctic Spa, the only spa built for Utah's harsh climate.
Looking for the ultimate summer staycation? Enter now for your chance to win a family getaway in Utah Valley. One lucky winner will enjoy 2 nights at a hotel with tickets to Imaginaria at Thanksgiving Point and Splash Summit in Provo. Plus, $100 gift cards to Thanksgiving Point, outlets at Traverse Mountain, and a downtown Provo restaurant sponsored by Explore Utah Valley. Head to ksl.com/win to enter now.
911, tell me exactly what happened. My son and his wife and their 2 children haven't responded.
Susan Powell disappeared on a snowy morning in 2009.
Your wife is missing, Josh.
Yeah, but
And you want to think about it for a couple of days?
The podcast, Cold, has gone deep on these kinds of stories.
I'd had this overwhelming feeling that he had done something to her already.
Clearly, something happened on that couch because he cleaned it.
Find and follow Cold wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey Utah, have you heard? Nuclear energy might be coming to our state. Now, before your brain jumps straight into sci-fi movies, let's talk about what nuclear actually does. Nuclear technology helps power our nation's submarines, supports life-saving cancer treatments, and produces reliable electricity for millions of homes. That said, nuclear power also comes with some common misconceptions. Don't worry, we get it. Here's a fun fact. You're exposed to more radiation eating bananas than you are living near a nuclear power plant. And get this, a lifetime supply of nuclear energy fits into a single soda can. Despite what some people believe, nuclear energy is safe, clean, and incredibly efficient. But don't just take my word for it. Energy decisions matter, and Utahns deserve the facts. Learn more about nuclear and what it can mean for you. Visit energy.utah.gov/nuclear.
Some of the most meaningful jewelry is the jewelry we never wear. It sits tucked away in a drawer. A ring from a grandmother, a pendant from years gone by, pieces filled with stories, but not part of your everyday life. Duke's Jewelers believes those pieces deserve more. For over 75 years, Duke's Jewelers has helped families reimagine heirloom jewelry, transforming what once was into something you'll love wearing today and pass down tomorrow. Whether it's resetting a stone, redesigning a ring, or creating something entirely new, Duke's Jewelers will guide you through every step, right there in the store. And if you have jewelry that no longer fits your story, Duke's Jewelers also buys gold, offering a simple, transparent way to turn it into something meaningful again. Bring in what you have and create something you'll never want to take off. Duke's Jewelers on Main Street in Springville, where your story continues.
Lunch was great, but this traffic is awful.
Can we stop at a bathroom?
Are you all right?
I keep having stomach issues after eating, like diarrhea, gas and bloating, abdominal pain, and sometimes oily stools.
Sound familiar? Those stomach issues may actually be a pancreas issue called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. Creon pancrelipase may help manage EPI. Creon is a prescription medicine used to treat people who can't digest food normally because their pancreas doesn't make enough enzymes.
Creon may increase your chance of fibrosing colonopathy, a rare bowel disorder. Tell your doctor if you have a history of intestinal blockage or scarring or thickening of your bowel wall, if you are allergic to pork, or if you have gout, kidney problems, or worsening of painful swollen joints. Call your doctor if you have any unusual or severe gastrointestinal symptoms or allergic reactions. Take Creon as directed by your doctor and always with food. Do not chew capsules as this may cause mouth irritation. Other side effects may include blood sugar changes, gas, dizziness, sore throat, and cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon. Call 800-633-9110 or visit creoninfo.com to learn more. That's CREONinfo.com.
I'm asking my doctor about EPI and if Creon could help.
Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed. Learn how at www.ready.gov. Brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the Ad Council.
Inside Sources.
Well, we're learning today that leaders from two of the major world religions are tackling artificial intelligence and how it relates to faith.
So Pope Leo, of course, the leader of the Catholic Church, and then Elder Garrett W. Gong, who's a member of the Quorum of the 12 in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, have both addressed artificial intelligence over the weekend and how it can work with and against religion.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because we've been talking so much about how artificial intelligence relates to workplace, how it relates to understanding, how it relates to people getting information they shouldn't and whatnot.
Yeah.
We had a really interesting conversation with Jay Evenson yesterday about don't
jobs.
fear
Some jobs will go away, but new jobs will show up. We just don't know what they are yet.
But talking about should artificial intelligence have a moral compass? Should it have a be founded on some sort of foundation that gives it some moral compass?
You know what's super interesting to me is that both of these statements. So the Pope issued an encyclical, and I had to look that up. It's an official document, and I think this one is 42 or 43 pages, outlining official position of the church. So we actually even have an infographic that we're going to refer to. It's really very helpful for people like us. But I wanted to say that I listened to Elder Gong's address. It's all on YouTube, right? You can find everything on the internet. So thank you, AI. But he really did talk about AI has lots of possibilities and lots of great things, but we for sure need some guidelines.
Let's listen.
Now is the time to define what it means to be human, point AI toward free, fair, and meaningful futures, distinguish between machine decision-making and human conscience, determine accountability for AI and AI agents, and recognize marketplaces and governments ultimately cannot arbitrate or legislate how we determine and live truth. These, of course, are many of the themes in Pope Leo's Magnificat Humanitas. AI development and adaptation are being pushed by a relentless winner-takes-all competition for AI performance, investment, and market share, including in digital security and digital sovereignty. AI brings startling new potential for good and evil, as we all know. International and U.S. state-level entities seek to regulate privacy, child safety, AI complicit self-harm, public decency. We seek to instill the accountability for AI we earlier missed and now belatedly desire for social media. Let me say that again, if I may, please. We seek to instill the accountability for AI we earlier missed and now belatedly desire for social media.
Interesting, he starts that out with what it means to be human. AI
Yeah.
can help us define what it means to be human.
And I think the Pope did very much the same thing,
Yeah.
right? When he was talking about the dangers of AI. One of the things that artificial intelligence cannot do is it cannot make moral choices, right? It doesn't have a conscience. It can't make moral choices. I also thought it was interesting that both the Pope and Elder Gong talked about agentic AI, and that is where they start to make decisions, right? I don't even have the words, the vocabulary to put it into because it's still algorithms, but they have an opportunity to seek solutions that go broader than what their programmer told them to do. That's agentic AI. That's scary to me with what could happen.
Right, especially if it takes people down a dark road,
Oh,
such
yeah.
as the things that Elder Gong just talked about, self-harm, looking at bad images, taking into account
Yeah.
certain things that are not good for the soul. I mean, just that AI can take you in an area that you weren't even interested in going just because you're interested in getting information.
So one of the things, too, that I thought was interesting that he said, and we've talked about this on our show a bunch of times, that we, meaning humanity, missed the opportunity to put guardrails on social media when it first came out. Because remember, we thought it's just people having conversations in the public square
just
way
posting
before we
conversation.
knew
Yep.
algorithms and all that stuff.
Right.
And now, belatedly, we're trying to put the genie back in the bottle. It's not working very well, right? These are trillion-dollar companies with high-paid lobbyists. And, when the states try, they get sued, those types of things. I just think it's really, really interesting conversation. Let's talk a little bit about what Pope Leo said, and then I want to talk a little bit about a study, and we don't have that many minutes left.
Yeah. So Pope Leo wrote what we call or published the Magnificat Humanitas, which Elder Gong talked about, and it's an interesting. This is really a fascinating. It's something we could spend an hour on, but it has so many nuances to it.
The subhead of that is on safeguarding the human person in the time of artificial intelligence. So the new issues that they have, and we're looking on the infographic. Thank you.
Right.
For making it easy for us, Vatican. The new issues are artificial intelligence. This came straight from the Vatican site. I'm just telling you. Digitalization and new technical capabilities. The risks are concentrated power, often in private hands, automated decision-making, and loss of human control. And he defines it as two roads ahead of us. Babel, humanity without God, uniformity and dehumanization, or Jerusalem, he says, with God at the center, diversity as a source of richness and brotherhood and collaboration.
Yeah, and talks about what he calls the 4 pillars of building a better future. 1, relationship with God. 2, accepting human limitations. 3, shared responsibility. And 4, language that unites. I mean, it's so interesting that two such powerful religions are looking at this simultaneously and through a very similar lens.
Yeah, and it's not just two religions. This is the study that I referenced. It's actually, this is a group of people from faith-based universities. So they call it the All Faith Benchmark, which they're putting together to do these series of tests with AI models. So we have Baylor University involved, which is Baptist. We have Brigham Young University, which is Latter-day Saint. We have the University of Notre Dame, which is Catholic, and then Yeshiva University, which is Jewish. And the purpose of them getting together is to try and find out, with these AI models, they're not designed for catch-a moments, but what they're designed is to say, what is AI doing in terms of religion? Is it treating religion fairly? And one of the things that struck me with Elder Gong, by the way, is he talked about religion, but he also talked about people with no faith or no religion, right? That they have just as much value and they shouldn't be pushed, so to speak, to convert one way or another by AI. They should be free to explore or not explore if they want.
Right.
So this first one finds significant bias, actually, and that they actively exclude religious voices from important conversations.
AI does.
AI does.
Yeah, so there have been some studies already looking into this and going, hey, what is the relationship between AI and religion?
That's right. It's this new consortium of these universities. So they're working together on this. And again,
Why do you suppose that exists, that disconnect?
So AI is a program. It's programmed by humans, right? And you have implicit bias, which is, I don't think I'm biased, and so everything I put down, it's not biased. You don't even recognize, maybe if you're a religious person, you don't have a bias towards a particular, you're not religious. that's going to show up in the programming. If you are religious, but you're a certain denomination, that also shows up, right? So when you start to ask, and I was following this from last year, when you start to ask, tell me about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, they may, because there's no conscience and there's no ability to actually reason, they may pull in anti-LDS literature and LDS literature, right? And say, okay, well, here's both sides. What religions are asking for is fair and accurate representation of what they believe.
So they should definitely have more input into the process then.
Well, that's what they're saying, right? So this test with this research, they asked 150 ethically and personally salient questions scoured from chat transcripts and then used large language models to get answers back. And what they found was significant bias against religion, organized religion, but there was also a push towards a particular religion to convert people.
Good conversation to have at this point. Like you say, being on top of it instead of waiting, it will make a lot of sense too.
Well, and speaking of AI, more and more Utahns are still pushing back against data centers in their own backyards, not just in Box Elder County, but in Iron County too, and they have taken some actions. Stay with us and we'll tell you what it is.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour, a group of Box Elder County residents hosted a panel talking about a proposed massive data center and its impact on the community. Speakers brought up concerns over the speed of the project and a lack of public input. Keith and Candace Sando live in Box Elder County and attended last night's meeting in Tremonton. They're in favor of a referendum giving people a chance to vote on the project.
They're feeding us a load, and I don't like it. So it's nice to see what we can do about that and try to get this referendum passed. And what do you think?
I just appreciate that there's still momentum behind this.
Organizers at the meeting say there is no place for personal attacks or threats, but they did raise questions about MIDA, the Military Installation Development Authority, which will oversee the project. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, Vice President J.D. Vance is expressing optimism about a peace deal with Iran.
The discussions that are ongoing right now is basically to try and lift the siege of the Strait of Hormuz, the restrictions put in place by Iran, and to allow the U.S. naval blockade to be withdrawn. What it doesn't resolve are the outstanding issues, the ones that existed before, during the war, and throughout this ceasefire, primarily Iran's nuclear program.
ABC's Ian Pannell reporting from Israel. The team that knocked the Utah Mammoth out of the playoffs are going to be playing for the Stanley Cup Championship. The Vegas Golden Knights swept the Colorado Avalanche, and now wait to see if their opponent will be the Carolina Hurricanes or the Montreal Canadiens. Your money at this moment, the Dow up 234 points today to 50,696. Coming up, though, we've got more wind to go along with the warmth of today. We'll check that when we tell you about KSL weather next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
The Children's Center Utah provides a unique service in our communities by meeting the needs of very young children and their caregivers. Here's a Little Minds, Big Hope message from Dr. Kyle Smith, the Children's Center Utah's child and adolescent psychiatrist, during May's Mental Health Awareness Month.
Did you know picky eating isn't always about food? It can be a child's way of responding to stress, anxiety, or change. For young children, emotions show up in everyday routines like meals. Find out more at childrencenterutah.org.
What if you had the most reliable fiber-powered Wi-Fi and the price didn't change for 5 years? Thanks to the Xfinity Summer Savings Event, you don't have to worry about that part of your future. Now through June 15th, get gig Wi-Fi for just $50 a month for 5 years with equipment and unlimited data included, no strings, no commitments. And get online in minutes with same-day Wi-Fi. You're guaranteed 5 years of Wi-Fi that finds and fixes problems before you even notice them, like super intelligent Wi-Fi that keeps you protected from online threats. Plus, you can even try Xfinity Mobile free For a year, lock in your price and unlock the possibilities during the Xfinity Summer Savings Event. Get it now at Xfinity.com. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account taxes and fees extra after 12 months. Regular rates apply to mobile. Select Xfinity. Internet required speeds vary. Use of fiber coaxial cable. $50 a month for 5 years. No commitments. Go to Xfinity.com.
What if your weekends weren't dictated by your house? No mowing, no raking, no fixing that thing again. At Ovation Homes, it's not about having a home that owns you, it's about owning your lifestyle. Imagine no yard work, more time to do what you want, when you want, and how you want, with modern conveniences your way. Visit Davis County's best, Ovation Homes. Stop in to see Phase 5 at Sadie's Glen. Homes are selling fast. This is your chance to tour beautifully designed floor plans with the best amenities customized to fit yours truly. Less maintenance, more living, more freedom, and all for you. At Ovation, it's not just a word, it's an expression you'll feel toward your home, because your home should fit your life, not the other way around. For questions or to find out more, visit OvationHomesUtah.com. OvationHomesUtah.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Improve cash flow with a home equity line of credit. Here's Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
Roadways looking really good as we approach the midday. A little delay on northbound Legacy Highway through Woods Cross, but that's just a little slow in that construction zone. And we do have some northbound I-15 delays left over at 106 South, but again, just a touch of slowdowns there. Otherwise, roadways, again, looking really good as we approach the midday traffic. At UTA, we move your early mornings, your long days, your big plans. We move purpose, we move you. Plan your trip at rideuta.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather looking at mostly sunny today with a high of 85 degrees, but it will be windy. Gusts up to 30 or 40 miles per hour. Tomorrow, 86, windy, and it'll bring in a storm by Friday. Right now, it is 75 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So, speaking of elections, there is news out of Alabama where a federal court said you can't use these new maps that you just barely drew for the 2026 election. And so Alabama is actually asking the Supreme Court to weigh in, and what primaries are already underway.
Yeah, and every day we get closer to the general election, and every day we get closer to having if the later it gets to decide these boundaries, the harder it's going to be to select candidates and to get through primaries and see where we are.
So Alabama is trying to get the Supreme Court to weigh in on that. So we'll follow what happens with the Supreme Court. At some point, they've got to say, look, we're so close, we just can't make any more rulings on redistricting.
And it was just yesterday that we learned what the Federal Court of Appeals did.
That's right.
And threw out their
And that's right. And that's why they're going to the Supreme Court. Because they're like, no, we want to do this.
Right.
Okay. Anyway, so we're talking about data centers and data center developments in Box Elder County. Of course, we've been talking about that a lot. But it's not the only place in Utah where data centers are coming.
Yeah, and it's not the only place in Utah where data centers are getting a little bit controversial. Yep. According to an article we saw in this morning's Salt Lake Tribune, they're also having some concerns in Iron County. The county commission there actually banned the processing of new or incomplete data center applications for not only data centers, but data center power plants or solar plants for the next 180 days.
Yeah, that's like 6 months.
Putting the brakes on things.
So the Box Elder County Commission said that they couldn't really slow stuff down. They couldn't put a pause on it. So we probably need to talk about why Iron County and Box Elder County might be different in this situation.
I would say that Box Elder County can put a brakes on anything they want.
Mm-hmm.
I think that what Box Elder County is saying, and what's really got them in trouble, ironically, is that train had gone way down the tracks, and so they're saying we can't stop it now. Where Iron County is saying, well, we grabbed it at an earlier stage. I'm just surmising a little bit, but the Box Elder County commissioners really in their conference, it's been now 3 or 4 weeks, said it's already been approved. The plans are in place. It's been purchased. We've got the land. Everything's
One of the
up.
things that was interesting is they said they couldn't do a rezone because it's unzoned land. So I didn't realize, even with my decades of experience in Utah politics, I didn't realize there were places in the state that didn't have any zoning at all.
I didn't either. That seems odd, but it's the unincorporated parts of Box Elder County, out in the Tules. That it's not. But you think it would be zoned agriculture, or zoned
right? Exactly, something like that. But they're saying that they couldn't do that. But in any case, it's interesting that Iron County is like, look, we're gonna put a pause on these. So they do have a project that is approved. That one will move forward because everything was complete. They also have another project that was partially applied for. That one will be put on pause because they're going to take a little break.
You have to wonder if and to what extent what's happened in Box Elder County has affected the people down in Iron County who may have been willing to let this go forward, but now hearing complaints from other cities, learning more about the water problems, the energy problems, the air pollution problems. Hey, wait a minute, maybe we don't want this in our backyard. Maybe we should put the brakes on it. And so good for the county commission. They didn't stop it, but they did put a 6-month pause on it.
I'll just say this, though. I think people have been protesting these data centers, but it's just the size of the Box Elder County one. It's so big and so fast, right? It's 40,000 acres, and that doesn't mean 40,000 acres of buildings, of course, but 40,000 acres of land. It's the water use. There have been protests in other places, and they're all over the state, but they're a lot smaller.
And these data centers, from everything I'm hearing, are somewhat of a necessity in the future. There's got to be something set up. So it's a rock and a hard place issue. The idea that, and I don't know enough about data centers or what they do or what their purpose is, but it seems like with artificial intelligence and other things coming online more and more and more, we need more storage, we need more data centers, and they're going to have to do something. But a lot of these cities are going, wait a minute, let's look at the environmental and other costs of it before we just set them up.
So there's ongoing discussions, and we know this. We hear from our listeners. We've talked about it, but there's still ongoing discussions and concerns. And then last night, there was an informational public meeting by some groups that oppose the data center. And there's some that are saying that the Box Elder County data center, not Iron County, but Box Elder County, that one is illegal just on its face because they're claiming that they needed to have Box Elder County Commission approval first, not last. Right. And so that the order was reversed so that MIDA is going into making agreements that they don't actually have the authority to make.
Yeah. But what do you do once you get that far down?
Well, they're suing.
The county, and the county commission has invited a new water share was water permit was requested or something like that.
Right. So,
which invited public comment.
Right. Exactly.
Which invited a whole bunch of
complaints. So the first water use request was for 1,900 acre-feet of water, almost 6,000 letters of opposition. The next one is just only 11 acre-feet of water, and they still have a lot of people saying absolutely not. And they have to pay $15 a pop to register an official letter of protest.
There's another big one that we haven't heard much about, and that's the one in Millard County that we talked about. It's been about a month or more. And we haven't heard whether or not the residents down there. Now, that's a small rural county, probably smaller than Box Elder.
So there were residents who were opposed, and I've looked that up too, and they're just like, we feel like nobody wants to listen to us, which is a common sentiment from a lot of people who are in opposition to these. We feel like people don't listen. So there are people who live down there who say, look, this thing is going in, it's big, it's going to be noisy, it's going to have a lot of light. We're worried about our farm and our agriculture and our family, but nobody wanted to listen to us.
Yeah, and you wonder what the answer is going to be. If they have to make these data centers more efficient so we don't need as many of them, or whether we just need to bite the bullet and set them up.
So I think that's a conversation that is happening nationwide because there are data centers all over the country. We have 48, but the states that have the most, they have hundreds of data centers. I think Texas is over 600 data centers.
And what's stunning, we continue to learn more about these, is just the amount of energy that they consume, the amount of what they take off the grid.
Yeah.
I heard somebody saying that the data center that they're considering setting up in Box Elder County would take as much energy as the city of New York. There's only one entire city that takes up more than that data center, and that's New York City.
And that's double what our state uses.
Right.
So one of the things that these data centers are doing is saying they're going to produce their own energy, right? Whether it's natural gas or it's renewables. And I think there's conversation too about using nuclear power for energy, right? To run these. That was the conversation about the data center down in Eagle Mountain. Is they're going to, and they put a pause on that too, because they wanted to do this small modular nuclear, but they didn't feel like they had enough information. And so that's right now, as I understand it, the nuclear part at least is on pause.
Yeah, and those small nuclear reactors, we haven't seen, if there are some set up, I haven't seen them, but they were the talk of the town a yeur ago that they were going to take over.
I know, they really
really
want
small
them.
And efficient, and they do a very good job, apparently, for their size.
Apparently, but we don't actually have them in place and running.
Yeah, you hear the word nuclear and energy, and you just think,
it's not a bomb.
Chernobyl,
No, it's not a bomb.
The China syndrome, something bad's going to happen. So the love for those is still waning a little bit. When we come back on Inside Sources, we're going to take a look at the future of what we call air taxis here in Utah. Utah's on the cutting edge of this, thanks to our own representative, Mike Kennedy, who's going to join us in studio and talk about that when we come back.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried, because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
At Uline, they know going the extra mile takes hard work. For companies pushing to go further, Uline will go the distance with you. 24/7, they answer the phone to get you the shipping and industrial supplies you need. Business can move fast. Unexpected large orders, adverse weather, new safety guidelines, and changing economic trends. Uline works hard keeping 41,000 items ready to ship, minimizing detours on your way to the extra mile. Visit uline.com.
Serenity now! Serenity now!
Are you okay?
Okay. Gas is up. Groceries are up. Everything up, up, up.
Not at Strong Volkswagen.
Strong Volkswagen.
Yeah, purchase any vehicle with a dime. One dime down.
What is the deal with dimes?
One dime down. Plus, oil changes at just $59.95 at Strong Volkswagen.
Just $59.95?
Or lease a new 2026 Jetta S. Just $235 a month. $235.
Fun fact, new Jetta get up to 42 mpg.
Even new all-wheel drive Atlas. Just $432 a month. $432.
And you get a lifetime warranty. Lifetime. But my own mother won't loan me money.
You're not getting the money! It's okay. If you got a job and a dime, you ride, mister.
This is great. I'm back, baby, during Volkswagen Driver Days.
At Strong Volkswagen. For over 70 years, Strong Volkswagen.
Located downtown.
StrongVW.com.
StrongVW.com. For details, call 801-596-2200.
Bad driving habits are hard to break, but good driving habits are easy to form, especially when they can lead to a discount on your auto insurance. With Farm Bureau Financial Services, the safer you drive, the more you save. Drivers like you are saving an average of $351 per vehicle. So buckle up, learn more, and find an agent at fbfs.com/save. Individual savings results may vary. Farm Bureau Property and Casualty Insurance Company, Western Agricultural Insurance Company.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-292-4541 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-292-4541. That's 800-292-4541. What do you have to lose? Call 800-292-4541. Again, 800-292-4541.
If you're struggling with your mortgage, there's a free government program that offers expert one-on-one advice about your mortgage options. Call 1-888-995-HOPE or visit makinghomeaffordable.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Treasury, HUD, and the Ad Council.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
We could all be George Jetson pretty soon with the next stage of flight poised to take off in Utah in the not-too-distant future. We're making our guests laugh here. We're talking about air taxis and things like that today.
Look, we have Representative Mike Kennedy in studio, who is a fan of this. And thanks for joining us, first of all.
Thanks for having me on, and thanks for the Jetsons retro on that. I never really liked the cartoon, but I did like the concept of living in the clouds and flying around from one place to the next.
Look, you know what's funny? Here's the thing that I miss that we don't have so far, and that's being able to transport myself from here to a different country and just, from Star Trek, right? Different show.
Still waiting for teleportation, too. We
I
aren't there
know.
yet.
I'm tired of jet lag when I travel.
I agree.
So you were yesterday at 47G, which is a conference pulling people together, and you were talking about air taxis, which does make me think of George Jetson. And I keep hearing that Utah's going to be ready to have air taxis in use safely by 2034, the Winter Olympics. And that's how we're going to get athletes and fans and stuff around. I'm a little skeptical, but tell me why I shouldn't be.
Well, I always take everything that I hear and see with skepticism. So I think as a former recovering politician, as you are, and as a currently elected official, I think it's healthy to have a certain dose of skepticism associated with this. And thanks for having me on, both of you. And I'm eager to see how this goes. I think it's fascinating to think about the possibilities, but the reality, and so yesterday with 47G, Carlos Braceras, UDOT, he and I were together on a panel, and he has already flown in one of these 7 years ago. So this is not something that we're just in the development stage. This is something they have these devices, and they're functional. Now, the other question is, well, how many of them do we have? How easy is it to deploy them? Do we have a regulatory framework to make sure people are safe? These are additional questions. But the other thing I'll point out to your listeners and yourself is 3 years ago, China authorized these, and they're using these city to city to transport any number of cargo-based items. They're not, as far as I know, transporting people. But this is something that we, on an international stage, need to be thoughtful about, because if this is a new version of transit that we could use in a safe and effective fashion, and our international adversaries are already using this, we need to be thoughtful about, should we proceed with this or should we stymie it based on concerns that people might have. And I'm, with skepticism and thoughts towards safety, I'm very eager to see what our friends in the development of this can do.
So my mind is racing, Representative. What do they look like? What describe what this could be?
I told the 47G folks yesterday, which, to be clear on that, they're national defense and aerospace. It's a conglomeration of Utah-based, really smart, capable, innovative folks. And I will be honest, I've never flown in one of these. I've seen pictures of them. But I told the 47G people yesterday on this panel, is we, and I'll say me as an elected official, but But Holly, you and Greg and our public, everybody listening to this ought to have a chance to touch, see, feel, and look at. In today's artificial intelligence and deepfakes, I don't believe anything I see either. I don't know if it's really faked or if it's real. So bring one of these to the state capitol on some day when the session or not session is happening. Let's put one on the lawn and let's let people walk around and look at it and touch it. And then let's get some local dignitary or some body of note, not me, although if they want me, I'm just not that of note, but I would get in one of these, absolutely, and let us tool around in this thing. Let's show how it works. And when those that are seeing the future and also developing the future, and it's already here, as I've mentioned, when they allow the public to have a chance to see these things and how quiet they are, how functional they are, and how potentially safe they are as we give a chance for regulations and the regulatory sandbox approach that Utah takes to this, I think the public is going to be eager to see how this is going to work. The Olympics still are several years away, but the idea of landing at Salt Lake Airport on an average plane and getting into some advanced air mobility transport, which drones have a whirring sound associated with them, but you're not talking a diesel motor like a helicopter, which are very noisy and also very windy, breezy associated with them. We're talking about a single, either a single or a few people in a safe circumstance with rotors all around them that they can lift off in a vertical fashion. There's no runway associated with this. They have landing pads, and they can lift off, and they can transit from one place, the Salt Lake Airport, downtown Salt Lake, or even go up to Park City, where a lot of people end up going, and land in a vertical fashion as well. I'll add to this, the Cherokee Nation has developed a portable helipad that they can, with a Ford F-150, it's a 8,500 pound, if I remember the number correctly, trailer that they can hook onto a Ford F-150 and bring a helipad to any portable location and put the helipad down. This one person can deploy this helipad in 5 minutes based on what they were showing me yesterday. I was on that helipad, and if you go to my website, you'll see pictures of this, that the Cherokee Nation, and I'm eager to endorse and support that, these Native Americans have developed this themselves, and they're eager also to put that on. So we need infrastructure, but this portability associated with this, it's just remarkable to think about, and let's see how it works. Let the public see, let the elected officials see, and I'll fly on one of these. I'd be happy to do it.
I guess my safety concerns are less about the air taxis crashing and more about traffic jams and crashes in the air.
Agree.
Right? Because I know that drones can interfere with planes right now.
Absolutely, yes.
And that we don't even have the drone thing figured out yet. So I'm just a little worried.
Yeah, and self-driving vehicles are
also
sort of hit a bit of a wall, it seems. But although I think if you're operating in three dimensions, you have a little bit more play than just.
Well, I just think that's harder, right? That's harder to say. How do you don't have a road, right, in the air? So what is the traffic pattern going to be, right? When you don't have to fly at the same level as the jets, of course, you're going to be much lower altitude. Anyway, so what's the regulatory framework there that you can put into place where, even if it's just a sandbox, how do you keep people safe in the short term?
Most of our regulations are old and did not envision these developments.
Oh, for sure.
So recognizing that, the considerations, and this is not something that I've sat down with the appropriate committees. Groups of people need to join together and consider this. Number one is, do we want to look to the future, or do we want to fear the future? And I think the people in Utah, we are a future-looking people. How do I know that? The state started with people that came to a vast desert wasteland that was considered worthless by many that would had walked through and made reports about it. And those Mormon pioneers saw that this place was a remarkable place, not because of what they saw with their actual eyes, but they saw with their visionary eyes what this place could become. And with that, and also I'll point out the Transcontinental Railroad, the fact that Golden Spike National Monument is just a few miles away from where we're talking right now. And the Transcontinental Railroad transformed the United States of America. It was part of the contributor to our superpower status. When the East Coast and the West Coast were connected, that was something that nations all over the world looked with jealousy at what we were able to do, because the production of the West Coast and the East Coast could now share back and forth agriculture, the West Coast, and then the industrial base of the East Coast. It's remarkable to think of our history and the fact that these things have happened in this state. And then I'll just say, Holly, thanks for the question, is it's not that hard initially to say, all right, these things are going to go slow and they're not going to go super high. If there's some failure of the device, we're not going to go higher than 5 or 7 feet. And we're going to follow the current road patterns. And you have to stay on the road. And we'll put some sort of, to me, technology is the answer, not balloons floating in the sky that say this is the highway at 40 feet or 80 feet or whatever. But inside of the technology, I'm certain that there's capacity to say this is the virtual road, and you can't go, if you're at 10 feet, you can't go to 40 feet, and you need to follow the current roads, and you're going to be on the right side and the left side, just like we currently have, with a look to the future to develop new versions of an air-based roadway system where there's order and organization to it that keeps people safe. We've done it in the past with cars and horse-drawn carriages. We can do it in the air as well.
Hey, we've got less than a minute left, but how would you describe the state of technology for it right now?
Well, I'm excited because the technology's already there. We just don't have many of them yet. But the other piece is President Trump is on board with this, as is Secretary Duffy, our transportation secretary. And Utah is leading an 8-state coalition of development of this in the state of Utah. It's an EIPP. It's a project that we are going to be the leaders of to try this out. And if you can do it in the Mountain West with our interesting geography, you can do it anywhere in the country. So we're developing this, and I'm eager to see what our friends in the innovation space can do to help us to do this in a safe and effective fashion.
I think it's exciting. Yeah, I think it's really exciting.
Holly's a curmudgeon on this. That's fine.
I'm a natural skeptic.
I am too.
It's all good.
But
I'm a natural skeptic. All right. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
So coming up next, we're going to talk about Ebola. It's a weird shift. I understand that. But we're going to talk about Ebola in Central Africa, how it's breaking records, it's getting ahead of scientists, and we're going to talk about how it impacts Utah, if it does at all, with our own state epidemiologists. Stay with us.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour: employees in the Salt Lake City Public Library system are being given the choice to leave their jobs voluntarily with incentives. KSL News Radio's McKenna Rodriguez explains.
The employee buyouts are for all part-time and full-time workers, and Library Director Noah Baskett says there are no mandatory layoffs planned. Employees who choose to leave will receive financial incentives along with support if they transition to another job. The city library system offered a similar voluntary leave program in 2021 to support long-term planning. Baskett says this is a part of their goal to support all library staff as best they can.
People have been questioning the move online, saying offering buyouts is not support of the libraries or its workers. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has won the Republican nomination for U.S. Senate in the Lone Star State. He defeated 4-term Senator John Cornyn. Paxton was endorsed by President Trump last week. His victory makes Cornyn the first Republican senator from Texas to lose the party's nomination for re-election. Kenny the sea lion has passed away. The 4-year-old arrived at the Hogle Zoo just last month alongside another sea lion. The pair came to Utah as part of the Association of Zoos and Aquariums Species Survival Plan to create a dynamic group setting with the sea lion that already called Salt Lake City home. The zoo says Kenny got sick very fast and died from acute liver failure. The other lions are being closely watched, but so far have not exhibited any of the same symptoms as Kenny. Your money at this moment: the Dow up 234 points today to 50,696. Coming up, we got mid-80s, but also wind. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Is the volatility of the stock market driving you crazy? Is your retirement account sinking, yet you're getting older and you're starting to worry about, will I have enough for retirement? What about the money in the bank? These banks pay nothing these days. How do we get growth to get to retirement account? It's simple. Move into gold and silver. Want to know how to do it? Listen to my show, Striking Gold with me, Kenny Michaels.
Now on Saturday at 5 p.m.
The Children's Center Utah provides a unique service in our communities by meeting the needs of very young children and their caregivers. Here's a Little Minds, Big Hope message from Dr. Kyle Smith, the Children's Center Utah's child and adolescent psychiatrist, during May's Mental Health Awareness Month.
Did you know that mental health challenges can begin as early as infancy? Even young children can experience anxiety, trauma, and emotional distress. Find out more at childrencenterutah.org.
This summer, Utah Festival Opera and Musical Theater is back. We're celebrating the 250th anniversary of America with a season that sings our nation's history and yours. First, freedom, passion, and unforgettable storytelling with the Tony Award-winning musical 1776. Starring two Michaels, renowned singer Michael Ballum and Metropolitan Opera singer Michael Sokol. Then, Gilbert and Sullivan's silly and swashbuckling, okay, not really, but at least it's a pirate word, The Pirates of Penzance, plus the moving romance of the last 5 years. This year, we're even honoring the legal system with the courtroom duo, Scalia Ginsburg and the lighthearted Trial by Jury. The first is based on the true story of two Supreme Court justices who couldn't agree on anything except for their love of opera. The second is another Gilbert and Sullivan romp that'll leave you laughing. Join world-class singers, a full orchestra, and the magic of live theater in historic downtown Logan. Bonus! Utah teachers and students get free tickets. UtahFestival.org.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-292-4541 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-292-4541. That's 800-292-4541. What do you have to lose? Call 800-292-4541. Again, 800-292-4541.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Here's Cormac Bone.
No slowdowns on all our major freeways all across the Wasatch Front. We do have a crash, though, eastbound I-80 just before you get to the Mountain Dell Reservoir turnoff, and they are in the right shoulder and out of traffic. So, again, no delays behind there. It's just normal slowdowns, light where you can see them. Both directions of the 201 freeway in Magna, scattered in both directions from 8400 west to 7200 west. And in Lehigh, the construction zones on 2100 north, still getting a little bit of slowdowns eastbound, especially approaching 2300 west. I'm Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather forecast, we should be in the mid-80s today and tomorrow, but it's going to stay windy. Gusts of up to 30 or 40 miles per hour. I know I sure felt that yesterday afternoon when I was walking outside. There's a small chance for pop-up thunderstorms over the next 3 days, then a greater chance for rain on Friday. Right now it's fair and 79 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
The ongoing Ebola outbreak continues to spread, and it may become the deadliest on record. It's pretty scary, actually. The Trump administration is now saying it will send Americans who are exposed to the virus to a facility in Kenya instead of bringing them back to the U.S.
It was interesting. Our last guest, Doctor, Representative Kennedy, talked about how insidious it was.
Mm-hmm.
And in that light, we're now learning that the CDC has sent an urgent request to its workforce asking for more personnel to help screen passengers coming from Central Africa for any potential signs of Ebola.
ABC's Faith Abube is at Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport with more.
An internal email obtained by ABC News shows Acting CDC Director Dr. Jay Bhattacharya urging employees to volunteer to screen Americans returning from Ebola hot zones for possible signs of the virus. The U.S. is one of several countries tightening travel restrictions amid the rapidly growing outbreak.
So, again, it's a question I think a lot of people have started to have. Well, we just had this hantavirus, and what is that like? And it is not nearly as deadly as Ebola.
It sounds just awful. It sounds insidious, and it has a significant mortality rate. I mean,
It does.
It's, not
It's
like
very,
some
very
things
high.
that-
It's very contagious, and the mortality rate is very high. So we wanted to talk with Dr. Alicia Nolan, the Utah State epidemiologist. Is she with us? Yes, she is. Thanks, Dr. Nolan, for joining us on this interesting and concerning topic. So can you tell us...
I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Can you tell us the current state of where we are right now, and what about in the U.S.?
Yeah. So currently there are no people with Ebola in the United States, and the threat here in the United States and in Utah is extremely, extremely low. Ebola, while it is dramatic and tragic, is actually not that easy to pass on. You have to come in contact with people's body fluids, and I think most Americans don't come in contact with many body fluids every day. And so to bring it back to this country from West Africa, from Central Africa, from where it is spreading is going to be difficult. And it's really good that we already have people screening and testing to make sure we don't get it back here.
What does that screening and testing look like? For example, if somebody comes in from one of these countries that may have an Ebola outbreak, what sort of screening and testing do they go through?
Yeah. Well, there is a whole questionnaire to see where people have been during their travels. Certainly, people are most at risk if they've been in close contact with other people who have Ebola or Ebola symptoms. So first off, we ask about who they've been around. Have they been in contact with anybody who's been sick? And then also, have they been to healthcare facilities to make sure they weren't in a hospital where maybe they accidentally got exposed there. So we can look at that. We also monitor them for symptoms. So for a casual traveler who's going to these areas, there really is very, very limited risk. So we work with those people to make sure they understand what to watch for, to make sure they know if they have any symptoms, what to do about it, and to really isolate themselves from others. People who have higher risk exposures, those are the people we're more concerned about, and we do really close contact with them. We follow up with them every day to make sure they aren't developing any symptoms and that they are staying safe with others.
Can you talk to us, and I apologize for thinking it was highly contagious. However, can you talk to us about the disease process? If somebody were exposed, for example, and you're monitoring them for symptoms, what is it you're looking for?
Yeah. So the classic symptoms of Ebola are a high fever, vomiting, and diarrhea. Those usually come on within 21 days of somebody being exposed. So if somebody's been traveling a few weeks ago, they're probably out of that risk period. But it's people who recently returned. We follow them for 3 weeks to make sure they don't get any of those symptoms. Unfortunately, it's hard because I think anybody who's traveled internationally and specifically to Africa knows that vomiting and diarrhea is not that uncommon from those areas. So we work with people to make sure that what are their symptoms? Is it more classic of a traveler's diarrhea, or is it something worrying like Ebola?
We're speaking this morning with Dr. Alicia Nolan, the Utah State epidemiologist. And Dr. Nolan, if in fact somebody did enter the country with some of these symptoms, is there like a quarantine period, or would they be held somewhere, or what would that look like theoretically?
Yeah. People, if they get symptoms, are asked to really stay away from everyone else, stay at home. We do have across the whole country and here in Utah, areas hospitals that are well trained to be able to specifically treat people with this infection. So we would ask them not to go to any random hospital. We would work with those people to make sure they go to a hospital that knows how to handle this infection and make sure that it can't be transmitted in the hospital. So here in Utah, we have a local hospital really well trained into that. And then there's a center in Denver where if somebody gets really sick, we can send them there so they can get the best treatment possible.
What does the treatment look like?
So unfortunately for Ebola, there's no specific treatment. There's not a special medicine we can give them that kills the virus. It's really getting their body to fight it off itself. So a lot of that is supporting people through that infection. So giving them oxygen if they have a hard time breathing, giving them IV fluid if they're just losing so much fluid through the vomiting and diarrhea, keeping their fevers down. So it's things that are pretty basic, but really can save somebody's life. And if they can get through the acute infection, their body can fight it off and they can get over it.
I wondered if you could help us understand why the World Health Organization Director General is saying that the outbreak is outpacing the response.
Yeah. So we know that the best way to control an infection like this is to identify everybody who's been exposed and make sure they're monitoring themselves for symptoms and don't expose another round of people, what we've called contact tracing. And we can tell that's working well if whenever anybody gets sick, we can say, oh, we know they got sick from this other person. And we sort of can trace back who they got sick from. And we know it was a limited number of people that were exposed, and it just spread in that specific group. Unfortunately, what's happening right now in DRC and Uganda is that people are coming in who are sick and they have no idea where they got exposed. So that means it's spreading without them knowing how it's spreading or who exactly is spreading it.
It seems like we're talking about Ebola in a way we haven't recently. Is there an uptick for some reason going on right now internationally?
Well, unfortunately, Ebola, where it is happening right now, is in a part of the world that has war going on, that is really unstable politically. And so it's very hard for the usual agencies who can help control this to get in there and do any prevention. It's even hard for the people who live there to take precautions. They are just in the midst of a total disaster in terms of everything that's going on around them. So to be able to stop this infection is very hard in that situation. That part of the world, that part of Africa, Ebola happens, it sporadically comes into that population. It's just that right now it introduced itself into a population that really isn't easy to control.
I think I saw an article in the Associated Press. We only have a few seconds left, actually, but it said that there was a camp for 10,000 displaced people in Congo where there's no water. Like they're telling them, wash your hands, but you don't have water.
Make this spread so easy, right? No way to wash yourself, no way to keep clean.
Yeah.
And you probably are right on top of somebody else camping, and you don't know what you're going to be exposed to from them.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing with us. We really appreciate it, Dr. Alicia Nolan, Utah State epidemiologist. So in Utah, we're probably okay.
Yeah. Thankfully, yeah. That's interesting. I haven't thought about the word Ebola for a long time. Well, when we come back, we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about housing, creative opportunities for homeownership, and an update on ADUs. We talked about both of these things before with our friends at the Stern team of Omada Real Estate, but we're going to talk about that on our own when we come back.
This year, Utahns are celebrating the 250th anniversary of our country, Utah style, because everything from Utah's red rock deserts to our snowy peaks are worth celebrating. It's our land, our communities. Join us in celebrating our country with Utah style. Join the statewide celebration. Get involved at america250.utah.gov. Brought to you by America First Credit Union.
Celebrate 250 years of freedom right here in Utah Valley. Utah County is proud to be a part of America's most exciting birthday yet. As our nation marks 250 years of independence, communities across Utah Valley are rolling out the red, white, and blue with festivals, concerts, parades, and fun for everyone. Whether you're a lifelong local or visiting for the first time, now's your chance to be part of history. Explore Utah Valley invites you to start planning today at utahvalley.com/America250. utahvalley.com/America250.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
Join the movie show crew at Advanced Window Products in Salt Lake City on Friday, May 29th from 10 to 1. Get $2,500 off 10 or more windows at the Summer Window Upgrade event.
Kitchen and bath transformations start with AMC Building Materials. AMC Building Materials is a large kitchen cabinet and countertop supplier serving both wholesale and retail customers. AMC offers factory direct pricing on all interior remodeling materials, giving you exceptional value without sacrificing quality. Most standard items are available for quick payment and pickup right away. AMC Building Materials provides professional service, free design, and free on-site measurements, along with expert installation by top AMC professionals. From bold kitchen designs to beautiful functional bathrooms, AMC delivers offers outstanding value with styles you'll love. And best of all, most projects can be completed within just 10 days. Come experience beauty you can see, quality you can feel, and service you can trust. Get directions to the new AMC Building Materials showroom at 3678 South 700 West today and schedule your free estimate. Visit amckitchenslc.org. That's amckitchenslc.org.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
When American troops withdrew from Afghanistan in 2021, thousands of evacuees fled to the U.S. for protection. Many Americans welcomed their new neighbors.
For the last week, the governor tells me his office has been getting calls nonstop with Utahns wanting to help.
When we saw the pictures and the videos coming out of Afghanistan, we prayed to be able to help them.
But then, what happened? Listen to Stranger Becomes Neighbor, wherever you get your podcasts.
Man, one of my favorite things to do is when people say, does soda really work? Come on. And I say, yes, absolutely it does. I got to eat real food and I had real success.
The structure is what helped me so much. We used to call it soda weight loss, but it's more than just weight loss. Yeah. So now it's sodadietandnutrition.com. That's SOTA for state of the art.
And it's state of the art because you work with a nutritionist. They tailor the plan to your exact needs and your exact schedule so that it can work for you. It's not just a one-size-fits-all thing.
The simplest things that bring me joy now. I can tuck in a shirt. For years, everything always had to be loose and because I felt heavy all the time. But now I can tuck in a shirt.
Remember having to suck in the belly for every picture? It was so nice not to have to do that anymore.
And summer bodies are created right now. So go online to sodadietandnutrition.com.
So join us for a short time to have results that last a lifetime because Amanda, soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
The new Inside Sources.
Talked about this several times, but housing continues to be a problem here in Utah. And even with the changing laws and restrictions being removed, there are still issues with accessibility and, more importantly, affordability.
And we talk about these issues a lot with our friends at the Stern team of Omada Real Estate, but you'll recall that Russell Fawcett with the Stern team is still optimistic about the future of housing here.
Yeah, and this segment, we want to talk about a few housing stories, including an update on ADUs, which I had to remind myself. Accessible dwelling units plus creative opportunities for home ownership.
So what's really interesting to me with the ADU argument, so that we have a really big house because we had a really big family, and so we've thought about downsizing. I don't know if that'll happen, but I've had a child say, well, can I just build a tiny home in the backyard? And I'm like, no. But ADUs can be, accessible dwelling units can be a really interesting approach, right, to this affordability issue and this housing issue. So Utah, if you remember, we have a housing czar. He was in the legislature before he became the housing czar, and he told the Salt Lake Tribune about the really, quote, bloody fight 5 years ago to address the state's role in these ADUs. And then almost nothing's happened.
I have to tell you a little bit of a personal story because Rebecca and I have a place down in Torrey. It's a beautiful house. It's kind of a getaway. But we decided we wanted to expand so we could have more room. And we saw a development nearby that was setting up, they call them casitas because that's a little sexier than ADUs, and we went to the guy and said, hey, can you put one of these in our yard? And he did. Last year we put up a casita, an ADU. It's small. It's like it looks, if you open the door, you think you're in a very nice hotel room.
Yeah.
It's got a kitchenette bed. It's got a little loft. You can have the kids upstairs. But it was inexpensive, and it's cheap to maintain. It's got little You know,
Wow.
it's got everything you need. I assumed that some of these ADUs would be bigger than that, but it made me think because of how easy it was to put up, and some of them, not ours, but some of them are kits. I mean, they just come and
Yeah, sure.
load up the truck and
Oh,
put it
yeah.
up there. And I've seen those tiny homes. They are really tiny. This
They
is
are.
not quite that tiny. But I thought this is, you know, you could put these everywhere and you could give people housing for much, much less than what you'd spend for a home.
Well-
you just have to find the property, the land for it.
Right, but even with the so-called mother-in-law apartments, right? One of the things that was interesting about this article that I read this morning is that the Kim C. Gardner Institute said that since 2021, so in the last 5 years, cities across Utah have only permitted about 1,100 ADUs, which is a tiny fraction of what most states do in a year.
Yeah, that's almost nothing.
It's almost nothing. It's a
1,100 in
couple
5
hundred.
years.
Yeah.
That's you wouldn't even notice that.
Yeah. Yeah. So housing, you could have a basement apartment, right? That's an internal ADU. You could do a suite above your garage, but then you can do these little homes in the backyard too. So Representative Roy Ward, if you remember, he proposed a law to allow internal units, in owner-occupied homes to remove size requirements and how they face the streets. So they've had this like ongoing discussion in the legislature, think they've maybe solved the problem, but we're not solving the problem.
Yeah, local municipalities are going to have a problem in that they will be maybe unattractive, that they may not want to zone for that type of thing. And I know the legislature and others have tried to make these a little bit easier to set one up in your yard, but I think there are certain areas, certainly where we live up in the Ogden Valley, I can't even imagine that the homeowners association or the regulatory authority up there are going to allow that kind of thing to occur. But maybe the government's going to say, hey, we need the housing. You're going to have to bite the bullet.
Well, part of it, I mean, some of these are super beautiful. Like I'm seeing a picture of a 650 square foot ADU, but it's even got a staircase. Like it's really pretty.
Yeah.
You can do this and it can be tiny, but it's one of the tools that the legislature is like, okay, this can make a big difference. And it's just a tool that's not actually being used like they had hoped.
And ours, again, just my own personal information, it was far less than what the average Utah home is. It wasn't like, I don't think it was $250,000. I think it was in the $100,000 range. You know what I mean? It wasn't
much less than a regular home.
But if somebody wanted to buy something like that, of course, I think it'd be a little bit bigger. But it seems to me, and that's a rural part of the state, so maybe housing costs are a little different there. But it would seem that you could probably build something like that for under $250,000 and make it very livable for a small family of say 2 or 3.
Well, even if it's just a one, right? If you've got one person,
Sure, right.
Somebody who wants to be at least semi-independent, doesn't have a lot of money, right? But they could do this ADU. So there's some other opportunities too for housing that I thought were interesting. There's one where it's a Utah development, like so you've got this property that, or I guess a neighborhood being developed, and they're trying to do let people who are below a certain income threshold put in basically what we call sweat equity, right? So that they can get into homes. And this is, gosh, I think it's out in the west part of Salt Lake Valley. I'm looking that up right now.
Yeah, there was the time when I recall people thinking that because this is, I'll make a long story short, but we're importing so much more than we're exporting that we have this just a huge backlog of these railroad cars, and they're pretty big cars. And I've seen them in some developments where they're stacking or setting them up. I mean, it's a prefab building, the railroad car, and they're pretty big. And it's a big metal structure. I mean, getting it around and getting it to your destination would be a hassle. But
well, that is creative, and I know people have done shipping units they've turned into houses. I've also seen
shipping units, right?
I've also seen people with large families who've taken schools that are no longer being used as schools and convert them to a house. But that's much larger, I think, than like these ADUs. So the one that I was thinking of, this is the Salt Lake City Community Reinvestment Agency that is working with the Garbett Homes to do 23 new affordable units as part of a larger development in the Glendale neighborhood. They're supposed to be available to buy in the fall, but it's one where you can have a lot of, you do the sweat equity, right? So you need to earn between 80 and 100% of the area median income so that you can qualify for these less expensive homes.
You wonder why Utah is lagging behind, because we're seeing that California and Washington approve thousands of ADU permits per year. We've approved 1,000 in 5 years.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's just a small number. It looks like the numbers were up a little bit from 2020. We had 317 last year, 368. Those are nothing. Those are very small numbers.
It's not going to get us to the, 53,000 homes that we're
we
short.
Need. Right, yeah.
Right, at 300 a year. So, look, I think it's an interesting conversation, and I've got kids, like I told you, can I build in the backyard? And I don't think so, but I don't know. Maybe I should consider it.
Yeah, I mean, the whole mother-in-law apartment thing, but it's a little bit separate. It's not quite in the house.
I know.
You know, it's not like living in your basement. At least they're sort of living out there a little ways.
Yeah. Yeah, so again, it's interesting, these accessible dwelling units. But
we can build little airplanes to fly people all over, but it's hard to build houses.
Actually, maybe they could be flown from their tiny home to their medical appointment, for example.
Go. Yep, right.
So there we go. Look, those are interesting discussions, and when we talk about housing, I think it's important to know that there are experts out there for us. Certainly the Stern team at Omada Real Estate is one of them, but you can learn your home's true value in 30 seconds by visiting thesternteam.com to find out more. And we've had this conversation, you and I, about, is it time to sell? Is it time to downsize? I'm watching YouTube videos. Is it time to downsize? There are some people who are like, look, there actually can be some downsides to downsizing. But we have so many stairs in our house that it's an ongoing issue for my husband and I to have this conversation.
Yeah, we've talked about downsizing too. It's just, I don't want to move.
I know, right? It's so much work.
I can't. We've been there way too long.
It really is. It really is. Okay, so we're going to go back to D.C. in the next hour, or in our next segment, really. So there's a proposal, bipartisan proposal on Capitol Hill that would restrict lawmakers' travel out of Washington, D.C. if the government is shut down. I really like that idea, but is it doable? That's up next, and we'll talk with an expert when we come back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top story this hour, police have arrested a man who they believe killed his partner, then left the body on a Salt Lake City sidewalk. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis reports.
This started on Monday morning when witnesses say they saw a man pushing a cart. He hit a curb and a body wrapped in plastic fell out. The man ran and witnesses called police. Sergeant Greg Wilkins says 2 days later they interviewed Bentley Scow, who was already in custody for theft. They learned the two men had been in a relationship.
If you're in those kind of situations, it's a good idea to get help. Let people know what your situation is and look for ways out of it.
Scow told police they had been in an argument, and that's when he killed the man and had planned to dispose the body in a dumpster. The victim has not yet been identified while police work to notify the family. Brianna Willis, KSL News Radio.
In other local news, police have canceled the Amber Alert for two missing boys from Saratoga Springs who are now safe and sound. Police say they found Dane Richmond with his two sons, 22-month-old and 10-month-old Will and Wesley, in Mexico last night. Richmond is now expected to be brought back to Utah to face 2 charges.
Some people thought this might constitute a kidnapping, but he is the father, and he did have the right to visitation, so he's charged with what's called custodial interference.
That's KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas. Richmond faces 0 to 5 years in prison for each of the 2 charges if he is found guilty. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow Jones is up 200 points, that's 0.4%. The S&P 500 is down 3.75 points, that's a fraction of a percent. And the NASDAQ is down 16 points, that's also a fraction of a percent. Coming up, a brief respite from the heat this week. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:02.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Are you looking for a fun way to get your kids outside and off their screens this spring? Try flower gardening. Starting a beautiful flower bed or easy container garden is a great hands-on way to spend quality time together while teaching kids about nature. They'll love digging in the dirt, picking out their favorite flowers, and watching them bloom, all while making real, lasting memories. Plus, gardening is a great way to slow down, soak up some sunshine, and enjoy the fresh air as a family. This is Brian with Olson's Greenhouse, and my family has been growing flowers with care for 4 generations right here in Utah. Whether you have a big sunny backyard or just a small shady front porch, our colorful, locally grown flowers make it easy to add beauty to your home. So this spring, start with a new family tradition, one that grows with your kids. Get inspiration at Olson's Greenhouse Gardens on Instagram or find a garden center near you at ogg.com. That's ogg.com for Olson's Greenhouse Gardens.
Get ready for bigger action, faster rides, and edge of your seat thrills. The Ute Stampede Rodeo and Extreme Bulls returning to Utah, July 8th through 11th. See elite athletes compete in PRCA rodeo showmanship with some of sport's biggest payouts. Buckle up for Extreme Bulls, delivering Utah's ultimate showdown. New dates, bigger crowds, limited tickets. Don't miss it. Secure yours now at UteStampedeRodeo.com. That's UteStampedeRodeo.com.
America First Credit Union has everything you need to get your money working. And for a limited time, new members get a $150 cash bonus for opening a checking account and $200 more for enrolling in and using direct deposit. If you're ready to do more with your money and get up to $350 cash, head to AmericaFirst.com and become a member today. Subject to membership, eligibility, terms, creditworthiness, change, and conditions. Additional requirements may apply. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal Opportunity Lender.
Doug Wright, and I'm here with Monty from Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake, an authorized Connecticut independent dealer. Now, Monty, don't all of the other water softeners require us to basically trust our home's water to electronics? If a power surge happens, a fried circuit board, or the power just goes out suddenly, aren't you back to scrubbing hard water scale and dry skin?
Yes, we believe the best technology is simple. That's why Connecticut's premium systems are non-electric. While other softeners rely on finicky computers and electronics, Connecticut runs on the kinetic energy of moving water. Nothing to plug in, no buttons to push, and zero electricity.
I've had a Connecticut soft water system in my home for many years, and I've never had to do anything to it except occasionally add a little salt. And I love that it never requires me to set or program anything. Dee loves that she always has the soft water. So do what I did and go to softwaterutah.com to learn how your family can enjoy the benefits of soft water without the hassles of traditional water softeners. That's softwaterutah.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Here's Tito Nani.
We have an accident on eastbound I-80 in Parley's Canyon just before you reach Mountaindale. It is off to the right shoulder and out of traffic. Other than this, our major valley freeways look to be in good shape throughout the Wasatch Front. If your roof needs repair or replacement, do it now during S&S Roofing's huge spring sale. Flexible financing options available. Get the best value on the highest quality roofing job. Get a quote today at snsroofingutah.com. Tito Nani in the KSL Traffic Center.
Temperatures are going to sit in the mid-80s this week until Saturday when it drops to 72 with a 40% chance of rain before it heats back up to the 80s and cloudy on Monday and Tuesday. Right now, though, it's 79 degrees downtown. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Okay, Holly, get this. A headline from the Deseret News. Bipartisan lawmakers want to restrict travel out of D.C. during government shutdowns. This is from congressional correspondent Cami Mondo. She says a bipartisan group of senators want to restrict lawmakers' travel out of Washington, D.C. in the event of a government shutdown. It seemed like as we were leading out of the last segment, you thought that was a pretty good idea.
Well, I do think it's a good idea. So
stick around, and you got to get this done before you can leave town.
Look, I know one of the concerns from a lot of people in the public is, A, are they getting paid? The answer is yes. And B, like, this is not like a 6-week holiday for you, my dudes. And they'll go back to their home district. Some of them go and do work within the home district. But I think it's a good way to say, hey, if you're going to make sure that the government is not working, at least you are going to be working, trying to get it going again.
Yeah, and we did have some problems, it seemed like even the last shutdown, when we were getting close to a resolution and then the House would call a recess.
And they all
gone
disappear.
for a week. And you're like, well, how are they going to solve this problem? They're not even around.
I know. Well, luckily we have an expert to break it down for us. It's Cami Mondo, the congressional correspondent for the Deseret News. Cami, I like this idea. What chance does it have of succeeding?
I think right now it's probably a better chance of succeeding just after we saw 2 record-long shutdowns back-to-back over the last year. Of course, these ideas have come up over the last few years, and we've seen them not really go anywhere. So, it is kind of a toss-up, but I do think that maybe at least in one chamber or the other, we could see something like this move forward.
So it's probably self-defining, Cami, but what would this look like? You just can't leave town during a shutdown?
Right. It would implement a couple of different things. So first, it would just automatically put some spending extensions in so that they aren't, not any funding at all. But yes, it would restrict lawmakers from leaving the Capitol. It would restrict the House or Senate going into a recess period for longer than 23 hours. It would not let lawmakers use either, their official funding or their campaign funding to pay for any travel whatsoever. And so it would really just make sure that they actually stay on Capitol Hill, keep these negotiations coming until they actually have some sort of agreement.
So I think it's interesting that one of the things, and you helped us understand this, Cami, is that a lot of the staff, well, not a lot, all of the staff were not getting paid. Were they? They had to be to work because they were essential workers, at least some of them were, but they weren't getting paid. Would this bill do anything to impact congressional staff?
Correct. And so those staff, especially those on the committees that deal specifically with appropriations and spending, they would also have to stay in town, as well as the White House Office of Management Budget, which they also deal with the budget. They would also need to stay in town in Washington, D.C.
Cami, let's talk about the other part of this, which you described as the extended funding. So what does that look like?
Essentially, it would keep the current spending levels of whatever the last fiscal year is. And, we talk about these continuing resolutions occasionally. Usually those have to be voted on to continue those funding levels. This would automatically renew those for 2 weeks, every 14 days, of course, until they have some sort of agreement, just to make sure that essential government services, government agencies don't shut down while they're still trying to get to some agreement.
So would that basically be like base budgeting? I know the Utah legislature at the very beginning of the session passes their base budget where if nothing else happens, at least they have some money to run the state.
Right. It's a very similar idea to that. We've seen lawmakers in the past try to do something with that. Utah Senator John Curtis has put up different resolutions or proposals to have some kind of automatic CR just to make sure that nothing is shut down. And basically, that's just another way to make sure that neither party can use the shutdown or a lapse of funding as a leverage point, which we've seen happen quite a bit over the last year.
It's also, though, not only a leverage point, but a pressure point. It seems like maybe keeping the pressure on makes some sense. Now, that doesn't make sense when you're sticking around in D.C. because you can't leave. But having the government shut down, I don't know. I guess I'm talking in circles a little bit here, but it does seem like that puts the pressure on some lawmakers to get something done instead of just saying, okay, we'll see you in 14 days. We'll see you in 14 days. So maybe, I don't know, is there pushback to this or do we know yet?
There could be pushback, and you do have a good point that some people, and you have seen that over the last year, wanting to keep that pressure on. I think the thing that we've seen that hasn't really been done before is that now both sides are using that lapse of funding to just blame the other side rather than wanting to come to an agreement. So the pressure point has kind of just become more of a weapon rather than something that they actually use to move forward.
Is there a way in this bill that people could put forward other votes if they wanted to vote on other stuff besides funding?
No, and so that's another limitation that this bill would introduce, is that nothing can be voted on except for something related to these annual appropriations bills. There is a stipulation in there that after about 30 days, they could vote on other authorization bills, maybe like a national defense bill that's about to expire, but those would be the only exceptions to that.
Right now, Cammie, is this just a Senate proposal?
It is being led in the Senate. We have at least a couple different House members who have decided to sign on. You are going to see some House members agree with this. I've talked to Utah Representative Mike Kennedy in the past. He's leading a bill right now to withhold pay for House members if there is a shutdown.
Ooh.
That's something that already passed in the Senate. But he did tell me, last month that this is something he would be supportive of.
Yeah, interesting. So what's the timeline? It just barely got introduced, right? And they're out until at least June 1st. So is this possible by the end of this year, or are people just going to be in campaign mode and it's not going to really be touched?
Correct. It could be kind of a slower process. It hasn't gotten a lot of momentum yet. We do see a lot of support, but there's nothing yet indicating that it'll be brought to the floor anytime soon. As you said, there's a lot of agenda items for them to get through, and they're going to be home campaigning. So the chances of this actually passing before the next government funding deadline, which is the end of September, it's not entirely clear, and it might just be wishful thinking, but they're really trying to push to avoid what happened last October.
All right. Thanks, Cammie. That was a Deseret News congressional correspondent, Cammie Mondo. And Holly, you seem to think that's a great idea.
Look, I think there's levers that can be pulled. And this is one of them. I think one of the things that we see with the dysfunction in D.C. is they don't really talk to each other. They go back home, right? So they're not going to their kids' baseball games like they used to. I think keeping them together is also a way forward, right? Because they're not going to spend the whole whatever amount of time they're there yelling at each other and blaming the other side if that's not something that they can do, right?
It was frustrating. I remember when I think it was the Speaker of the House sort of sent everybody home during the last shutdown, and we were all like, what are you doing? I mean,
and said he wouldn't hold any votes.
Right. Yeah. And so I don't know, to me this makes sense, and it's got bipartisan support because I think it's also got tremendous public support.
Yeah.
I think the public was every time you have a shutdown, they're saying, well, what are we doing with the Senate? They're all home watching their kids.
Right. We're going to blame them.
Yeah.
We'll blame the other party. We'll blame the other house.
Yeah. So
I actually think this is, I think it's a good idea. And of course, nobody asked me. So.
I did.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. One of the other things that I've been following for 4+ years now is the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Well, over the last weekend, Russia has really hammered Ukraine. So I wonder if they could hit them even harder than they have so far. Major attacks on Kyiv, the capital, are ramping up. We're going to talk about that with an expert from that area who lives in Utah right now. Stay with us after the break.
A family office is a team built to handle the 3 biggest financial responsibilities a family faces: wealth management, tax strategy, and estate planning. Most firms only manage your investments and refer the rest out, hoping everyone stays aligned. At Trajan, we built something different. Your wealth, tax planning, and estate planning are handled together inside one firm under one roof. There's no guessing whether your CPA, advisor, and estate attorney are truly in sync, because our team works together every day on your behalf. When your financial life becomes more complex, your advice should become more coordinated, not more fragmented. One plan, one trusted team. Call Trajan today, 855-TRAJAN-1. That's 855-TRAJAN-1.
Trajan Wealth, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Additional services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax. Additional disclosures and accreditation at TrajanWealth.com.
Amanda, every business needs IT help. And sometimes you've got that guy who already works for your company who knows how to do this stuff. But sometimes you don't. Or the guy who knows the IT stuff, that's not his actual job.
Right. So Les Olson IT they can be your 24/7 help desk. They can support your existing help desk. They can do advanced cybersecurity protection. Maybe just come and take a look. Are you subject to phishing or ransomware or other things? What are the cyber threats you're facing?
And you've got to make sure that your data is secure. So both cloud and data backup solutions, they can help you with that. Plus, everybody's got to use a computer. That's where hardware comes in, infrastructure support. You don't have to know all this this stuff because Les Olson IT knows it.
And most of the time, they can help you fix whatever's going wrong remotely, just off your computer. Plus, of course, they have copiers and printers. They always will at the very best price.
Les Olson IT is your trusted local IT partner. They've been in business for 70 years, and they've got 9 locations from Logan to Las Vegas.
Find out more at lesolson.com.
Do you have chirping smoke detectors? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you've ever experienced chirping smoke detectors, you already know how annoying it can be. A great first step to try and stop the chirping is to change the batteries. If the chirping continues, it's possible that your smoke detector has gone bad. As a matter of fact, a lot of people don't even realize that manufacturers recommend replacing the smoke detector altogether after 10 years. If you remove the smoke detector from the wall, on the back you should find a date of when it was made. Do a little math and you'll know how old it is. Now, Any Hour Services knows being a homeowner means you've got a list a mile long of things to do around the house, and check my electrical system probably isn't one of them. That's why we've put together this radio special for any homeowners listening. One of our licensed electricians will perform a comprehensive inspection of your electrical system that includes testing those smoke detectors and give you a full written report for only $29. But you have to mention this ad when you call. Call Any Hour Services to schedule it. 801-443-7300. 801-443-7300. Any Hour Services.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-292-4541 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-292-4541. That's 800-292-4541. What do you have to lose? Call 800-292-4541. Again, 800-292-4541.
Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, a gripping new 9-part investigative podcast about a serial killer you've probably never heard of, Warren Forrest, a sadistic predator who prowled the Pacific Northwest in the early 70s. He hid behind the deeds of Ted Bundy, and he's only been convicted of 2 murders, but is suspected of many more. Since the release of Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, a witness identified in the podcast could lead investigators to the remains of Jamie Grissom.
He ran into the woods. He said he stumbled. As he fell down, he looks up and sees the body of a young woman.
And now the FBI is testing forensic evidence that had been collecting dust for decades. This cold case is now red hot. Binge the entire season of Stolen Voices of Dole Valley right now, wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on the latest breaking news.
Traffic's rough. Your parking lot doesn't have to be. Keep it smoother than your summer playlist with GoPave Utah. GoPaveUtah.com. GoPaveUtah.com.
Inside Sources.
Well, Russia has stepped up its threats toward Ukraine, and strikes are ramping up too.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've seen is that Moscow is warning foreign citizens, hey, you guys get out of Kyiv because we're sending stuff there.
Yeah, and do you think this is a signaling of escalation of the war, or just sort of a fake show of force from Russia?
I don't know.
You know, we haven't talked about the war in Ukraine
for a while,
of the
right?
war
There's so
in
much
Iran.
other stuff.
Right, there's so
Yeah.
much going on, and we've sort of forgotten about it, but it's ramped up again, and maybe something's going on there.
There's some really interesting developments, but I do want to talk with an expert, and this is Anna Pechinkina, Associate Professor at the Political Science Department at Utah State University. Thanks for joining us, Anna.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Can you tell our listeners what's new with the war right now?
Yeah, I think there have been a couple of new developments. As you mentioned, this has been a fairly intense year, but I would say much more so in the civilian casualties. So Russians have really have not been holding back when it comes to attacking civilian apartment buildings inside Ukraine. At the same time, Ukraine has clearly developed a different strategy, and they have been attacking the fuel infrastructure in Russia, inside Russia. They have been attacking oil refineries all over the European part of Russia. They have been targeting their airports. And then they have also been trying to hit the semiconductor plants. So in that sense, even though in the past 2 weeks, Ukraine clearly, and I hope they made a mistake and they have generated some civilian casualties. In 99% of their attacks, they have had very clear strategic value.
Anna, can you tell us if there are any ongoing negotiations, discussions, mediations, anything that would maybe bring this conflict to an end, or does it just seem like it's going to continue for another who knows how long?
That's a really difficult question. I honestly have, I myself do not see any signs of an impending, breakthrough in negotiations. At the same time, I do want to say that the talk about negotiations and somehow peace emerging all of a sudden has been very much present in the coverage. And if I were very generous, I would say that there have been two things that if we're going to see some breakthrough negotiations, I think it would be easy to look back and to say, oh, these were the real signs. But honestly, if you force me to make a bet, I would not predict any breakthroughs. But if something happens, then I think what we're going to point to is that Putin has changed his rhetoric. If you recall, he was extremely insulting and dismissive of Ukrainian leadership throughout the war. He was, using insults and then was calling Zelensky a drug addict and whatnot. And very recently, he started saying Mr. Zelensky in the most respectful manner. So that's one. And then the second development, I would say, that I am sure had to shake, at least some of his advisors into kind of observing reality and coming back to reality, is that Ukrainians were able to evade most of the air defense negotiation attempt. If we see that, I think those were the two main differences.
Can I ask you a question that may be just too theoretical, but at what point does Putin say, okay, we're done? Is there a point at all? Because it feels to me like he has to be able to claim victory in some way because he's gotten himself in so deep. But I don't understand why Ukraine would ever agree to give up land, which is one of the things he's demanding. Where is a point where Putin could say, okay, we are declaring victory and, we're withdrawing troops for this reason?
Yeah, I think if had Russia been an autocracy that was more of a one-party autocracy, so that's a type of a political regime where the leader is being controlled by the surrounding elites, then I think the time to declare victory and go home, as you're suggesting, that time was like 3 years ago. Unfortunately, Russia is a personalist regime, right? So in the setup that Russia currently exhibits, the elites are scared of the leader, not the other way around. Basically, their all wealth is dependent on his graces. So unfortunately, none of them can threaten him. None of them can control him. So that means that this is a type of political regime that is extremely difficult whose behavior it is extremely difficult to predict because everything revolves around a single person. And so to answer your question directly, if something happens to him physically, that's one, right? Like that's very clear that whoever is the successor, and that's most likely is just the prime minister, according to the constitution, I can see a very clear change of course there. That's one. Number two, I would imagine a financial crisis, most likely of his own making. So for instance, he has been attacking the central bank chair for months now because the cost of borrowing is so high. And she's a renowned economist and she has been, kind of just standing strong and not lowering the interest rates. But at the same time, if he succeeds in removing her, right, and if some patsy who's replacing her does lower interest rates, then Russia's inflation is going to spiral out of control and potentially have hyperinflation. So a significant economic crisis like that potentially, I would imagine, could also change course.
That sounds a little bit familiar with what's going on here.
Yes.
Anna, can you tell us
sure.
what the current status of support is toward Ukraine? I know we're fighting our own battle right now in Iran. Is NATO still firmly on board? Is the United States sending money, or how is Ukraine getting its funding for its operations right now, or do we know?
So Ukraine has been able to. So it's no longer getting military aid from the United States, but what's happening is that European countries are purchasing arms for Ukraine from the US, and they're supplying Ukraine. So in that sense, Ukraine is still getting foreign support. But at the same time, Ukraine has been able to also develop manufacturing capacity for drones, and arguably has the most capable army in terms of implementing drone defenses and drone attacks. And so in that sense, but every year, Ukraine is becoming more independent when it comes to drone production and implementation.
Can I ask, we only have about a minute, but what is the war in Iran doing to Russia? Because it feels like if you're lifting sanctions on Russia because of the war in Iran, that's actually a plus for Russia.
Yes, initially it looked like it was going to really benefit Russia. It seems like that windfall of higher oil prices hasn't really changed things dramatically, and I'm basing this conclusion really on Putin's recent remarks and his asking of, because he ramped up his attacks against the central bank chair. It seems like they're really feeling the pressure. But I am surprised that there are not enough economically savvy people around him to stop his attacks on the central bank chair. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Anna, thank you for joining us again. That was Anna Petchenkina, Associate Professor of Political Science Department at Utah State University, who's very good in joining us periodically to talk about this conflict. When we come back, as the dry summer drags on, we may see more power outages. Rocky Mountain Power says they may actually preemptively cut power over the next few months for fire reasons and others. But we'll tell you more about that when we come back on Inside Sources.
It's 11:29 at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top national story this hour from ABC News. Outside Newark, New Jersey, protesters gathered around the Delaney Hall Detention Center Wednesday morning, calling for the ICE facility to close or for detainees to be treated more humanely. One of the demonstrators, Carol, explains why she chose to come to the Newark facility.
I feel that everybody has a right to life and liberty. The people in this detention center did nothing wrong other than wanting a better life for themselves and their families.
Holding signs reading "Stop Family Separation, Liberty and Justice for All," and "Close Delaney Hall," the crowds chanted against the alleged human rights violation they say are occurring inside the facility. Other national stories KSL is following. The latest report on what top corporate chiefs are getting in pay and benefits has some eye-popping numbers. Here's ABC's Chuck Sievertson.
Topping all corporate chieftain compensation is Tesla head Elon Musk, with a pay package valued at $132 billion. The typical CEO comp deal rose nearly 6% last year to $17.7 million, says the analysis by Equilar, an executive data firm for the Associated Press. The median employee at the companies earned just under $90,000, a 4.7% increase, outpacing inflation, but many workers were pinched by the accumulation of higher prices over the past few years.
Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow Jones is up 188 points, that's 0.37%. The S&P 500 is down 9 points, that's just over 0.1%. And the NASDAQ is down 47 points, that's nearly 0.2%. Coming up, expecting some of that much-needed rain. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
This is Nate Orchard from Advanced Window Products. When you live in Utah, your windows do a lot more than let the light in. They protect your home from freezing winters, blazing summers, and everything in between. That's why Advanced Window Products builds every window for your local climate. No middleman, no out-of-state delays, just factory direct quality, custom made for your home. Imagine a quieter home, a warmer home, a cooler home. Our high-efficiency vinyl windows are engineered to lower your energy bills and boost your comfort all year round. And installation is done by our own certified in-house crews, never subcontractors. That's why Utah homeowners give us 5-star reviews. Right now, take advantage of our anniversary sale. For a limited time, get $2,500 off when you buy 10 or more windows. Call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. For 40 years, Advanced Window Products has been the name Utah trusts for custom replacement windows and sliding glass doors. Advanced Window Products, built here, installed here, trusted here. Call 801-850-9100 for that $2,500 off, or visit us at advancedwindows.com to schedule your free in-home estimate.
This summer, Utah Festival Opera and Musical Theater is back. We're celebrating the 250th anniversary of America with a season that sings our nation's history and yours. First, freedom, passion, and unforgettable storytelling with the Tony Award-winning musical 1776. Starring two Michaels, renowned singer Michael Ballum and Metropolitan Opera singer Michael Sokol. Then, Gilbert and Sullivan's silly and swashbuckling, okay, not really, but at least it's a pirate word, The Pirates of Penzance, plus the moving romance of the last 5 years. This year, we're even honoring the legal system with the courtroom duo, Scalia Ginsburg and the lighthearted Trial by Jury. The first is based on the true story of two Supreme Court justices who couldn't agree on anything except for their love of opera. The second is another Gilbert and Sullivan romp that'll leave you laughing. Join world-class singers, a full orchestra, and the magic of live theater in historic downtown Logan. Bonus! Utah teachers and students get free tickets. UtahFestival.org.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-292-4541 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-292-4541. That's 800-292-4541. What do you have to lose? Call 800-292-4541. Again, 800-292-4541.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Receive 4% cash back on cruises at UCCU.com. Here's Tito Nani.
We're still dealing with an accident on eastbound I-80 in Parley's Canyon just before the Mountaindale Golf Course exit. It's off to the right shoulder, but it is causing some light congestion. Elsewhere, we have another crash. It's on westbound I-80 just before the Redwood Road off-ramp in Salt Lake. The right shoulder is blocked and causing some slowdowns through the area. Tito Nani in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today's going to be sunny with highs in the mid-80s. 20-mile-per-hour winds will continue through the afternoon. Tomorrow's going to be the same, but Friday we have some isolated showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon. Right now, though, it's 81 degrees and fair downtown. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSL News Radio. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, one of the worst things that happens in the real heat of summer is losing power, and it's not a big deal to lose power for lights and Wi-Fi, but guess what? When you lose your air conditioning, no thanks.
I know, and we might see more of that this summer thanks in part to our really high wildfire risk. So Rocky Mountain Power, which supplies power to most of the state, says they may proactively cut power when the risks are the worst.
Okay, I'm going to make people mad, but the sun powers our house, so we have solar panels, which is nice, and we have these big batteries.
Oh, yeah.
But again, if the power goes out long enough, it affects everybody because the batteries can't
Okay,
charge
for
themselves.
everybody except for Greg Skordas.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, KSL's Alex Cabrera has more on what this process could look like.
This is all about safety, and we've seen some examples in the past few years where an electrical line or a power pole came down into dry vegetation, sparking a wildfire that burned homes Even worse, Rocky Mountain Power is trying to prevent that.
We don't want to see any fires started. We don't want to see any communities put in danger.
In the past few years, Rocky Mountain Power has put up hundreds of these types of weather stations to monitor conditions in real time. Things like wind, temperature, humidity, even how dry the vegetation is on the ground. Rocky Mountain Power has also hired meteorologists to analyze the data, making decisions on if the power should be shut off to an area. With conditions as dry as they're getting and temperatures as hot as they're climbing, even something as simple as a power line can become a serious risk.
Weather stations themselves collect data 24/7. And our meteorologists, depending on, if there's an event that's coming up, they will be monitoring that as well as 24/7. And the good thing about having an in-house meteorologist program is that we collaborate with the National Weather Service, but we're also able to hone in specifically on the areas that we're looking at in relationship to our infrastructures.
That ability to zoom in on a specific area can help crews make faster decisions, such as if the power should be shut off because of an approaching wildfire, or if it be shut off to make it safer for firefighters on the ground. Now, this spot right here in Salt Lake City is also one where Rocky Mountain Power removed old wooden power poles and replaced them with taller metal poles, all in the name of wildfire safety. It's an effort to try and make conditions safer during a season that state fire managers say could be a really tough one when it comes to wildfires.
You probably recall that horrific fire that they had in California several years ago that they finally determined was caused by power lines. And so they can spark fires. And that one got so big that it became, lawsuit time. Homes were burned. It got really out of control.
That actually happened with the Lahaina fire in Hawaii, too.
Right, yes.
But I wanted to ask you, because you have that house down in Torrey, and that's where they had the big wildfire last year. You guys were without power for a while, weren't you?
Yeah, they shut it off for a little while because they were being careful with the fire, and it was just across the valley, really. It got very, very close to us on the other side there over by Kusharam. But just last week we were down there in Torrey and driving through that area, you could see all the burnt areas. But, yeah, they had power off for some parts of Wayne County and Sevier County. Power was off for a significant period of time.
Yeah, we've had power go off just from like lightning storms occasionally. And the other day, my daughter's school, the power was off because somebody ran into a power pole and set it on fire. So a short-term thing, I can get that, right? And you can open the windows if there's a thunderstorm because you're going to have wind. But I just, it's how do you prepare for having your power shut off because there's a fire?
Oh, yeah. What you don't do anything. You do the silliest things. We buy these lanterns and things like that so you can at least walk around. But
do you have a generator?
No. But only because we have solar. We got to the point, especially up in Ogden Valley and where we live in Torrey, that if you don't have some backup source, you could be a long time without power. We put solar on both of those units, of course. And I'm not plug-in solar by any means, but it's very expensive, and you kind of learn that you're not going to get the money back. But it's convenient. It's very nice when the power goes out. But the generators make sense too. They make a lot of sense, and I see a lot of homes with them.
Well, Rocky Mountain Power is part of this effort to let people know they may face more power outages this summer. They do have on their website, they have a place where you can look for outages and safety. And just things that you can do to be ready. So one of the things I know is just water, right? We're just not. You can turn on your tap if your power's turned out, but you can't get it from your fridge, right? And you may not be able to get cool enough, right? I guess I would stand in the shower, but you don't have a fan, you don't have air conditioning, but you can be ready in a number of different ways. There's also Be Ready Utah, I think, .gov that has advice for power outages and wildfires too.
And it looks like a lot of areas around the state are starting to do these controlled burns to make sure that if there is a fire, there is a zone where the vegetation's already gone, so it's not going to jump across the street and get into something else. We had that thing in Davis County on Monday afternoon.
Yeah,
we all thought
burning Phragmites.
Something that was really bad, but that had purposes besides just getting rid of weeds, but it also got rid of an area that could be a fire danger this summer.
I think for me, one of the things I think about, and I've seen this a number of times, is I don't live up in the foothills, but for the houses that are close to like the mountains, close to the vegetation, that you've got to be able to make sure you know what your landscaping is close to the fence, how like you've got to make sure if the fire comes down, it's not going to jump into your yard and then just poof, go to your house.
I wonder what sort of regulations. It would have been nice to get somebody from Utah Power or Rocky Mountain Power. That's how old I am. But to join us, because at what point do they decide, okay, it's 100 degrees, the grid is just completely overwhelmed with people have their air conditioning on, we need to shut it down? I mean, they must have something in place, especially in light of what we talked about in Lahaina. And
well, I don't know if they have rolling brownouts, right? I mean,
right.
But I think, like, we have a little device on our air conditioning unit that will, like, it gives us a little bit of a rebate because it will power off during some of the peak time and then go back on before the house gets too hot. So I know that they already have that in place. But yeah, I mean, one of the things that I was interested in is that they have brought on board meteorologists and emergency preparedness specials in-house so that they can have that constant monitoring and looking and saying, okay, well, this is what we're seeing, so this is where it could jump. And there was a fire, a week ago maybe, that burned 7,000 acres before they got it under control.
We don't often talk about heat waves in May, but we're still in May, and it's going to be a hot summer. Matt Johnson was with us yesterday and talked about, maybe the monsoonal moisture or the El Nino is going to bring a little bit of water. It's been kind of okay recently, but this next week is supposed to get pretty hot in the 80s every day.
Let me ask you this question really quickly, and this is from a texter. Does your solar run your air conditioning?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Because so the solar panels just gather the
right.
We have solar panels, but we also have batteries.
Mm-hmm.
We have huge
where it can store it.
where it can store. So we did it in our Tory home too. We have these giant batteries. They're like the size of a big screen TV, like we have in here.
Well, that's not that big.
No, they're not too big. But we have two in Eden and one in Tory. So they generate a lot of power, and we can run probably 48 hours if the power goes out, and run everything, including our air conditioning. It'll run everything.
Wow.
We have electric cars, so we wouldn't charge them during that time because they take a lot of juice through your 220. But yeah, air conditioning, we can run it, and we do.
Wow. Okay. Well, good to know. It's one of the things I don't love about camping is no air conditioning. Okay, coming up on Inside Sources, when you got to go, you got to go. So look, I would say as a woman, you might feel this more often, ladies, than men, but one male sports star is making the news because he just couldn't hold it anymore. Stay with us and we'll share that story.
The energy, the roar, moments you'll always remember. Next season, Jaren Jackson Jr. is hunting blocks. Laurie Markkinen is getting buckets. And Ace is just getting started. Don't just watch Jazz basketball. Experience every moment. 2026-27 season tickets are on sale now. Full and half-season packages available. Plus exclusive benefits like arena discounts and player events. Are you in? Join the climb today. UtahJazz.com or call 801-355-DUNK.
Get your yard ready with Rich Lawn. Spring is here, and it's time to bring your lawn back to life. Start with Rich Lawn Turf Food, an organic-based fertilizer that feeds your soil and keeps your grass greener longer. Looking for professional-grade results? Organic 100 delivers the nutrients your lawn needs to thrive. And for the finishing touches, Rich Lawn has you covered with Iron Rich for yellowing lawns, Easy Green Grass Seed, and Grow Rich Garden Fertilizer. Put in the work, trust Rich Lawn, and enjoy a yard you'll be proud of. Available at Home Depot and independent garden centers.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
Who is Farm Bureau Financial Services? At our core, we're relationship builders. We're home and auto bundlers, life insurers, farm and ranch protectors, and retirement planners. We're neighbors, community members, and friends. We're the people you can count on now and for years to come. Find a Farm Bureau agent at fbfs.com/protect. Farm Bureau Property and Casualty Insurance Company, Western Agricultural Insurance Company, Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company.
Hi, it's Greg Skordas, and for years and years, I'd maintained the same weight until I hit 60, and then it started piling on. I don't know why. I could not get that weight to come off. So I contacted SOTA, and I said, look, I need to lose between 20 and 30 pounds. They said, sign up, and so I did. There's no pills, there's no injections, it's just food. I have a nutritionist who helps me, and I told her, look, I can't even wear some of the suits I used to wear. Well, after the first week, I lost 8 pounds. After the second week, I'd lost over 10 pounds. I'm starting to be able to put some of my suits on. I'm starting to be able to put my belt on like I hadn't before. I'm back on the bicycle again. I'm getting outside again, and I'm doing the activities that I did when I was 40 years old. Having my wife join me was great because you can join now and your partner joins for free. That's right, 2 people for the price of 1. SOTADietNutrition.com. It's a great program. It's worked for me. It'll work for you. SOTA, as in state of the art. SOTADietNutrition.com. SOTA Weight Loss. Join them for a short time to have results that last a lifetime.
911, tell me exactly what happened. My son and his wife and their 2 children haven't responded.
Susan Powell disappeared on a snowy morning in 2009.
And I said, Josh, where are you? You need to get home.
And her husband will never be held accountable.
Your wife is missing, Josh.
Yeah, but
And you want to think about it for a couple of days?
I'd had this overwhelming feeling that he had done something to her already.
I'm Dave Cawley, host of the podcast Cold.
Then he starts making phone calls to Susan's phone.
Hello, Susan. We are on our way back.
It's the deepest of deep dives into this tragic tale of abuse.
Where was Josh when Susan disappeared?
I don't know. Of one mother's desperate attempt to escape.
This is me, covering all my bases.
Help prevent it from happening again.
Our focus has and continues to be finding Susan.
Listen and learn by following Cold wherever you get your podcasts.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. In the last few years, the tech industry has seen advancements in AI and cybersecurity, with Utah companies solving some of the most pressing challenges organizations face today. Avanti's General Counsel and SVP of HR and Security, Brooke Johnson, joins us with more.
Utah's tech industry, or Silicon Slopes, is a prominent center for tech development and a rapidly growing hub for software, hardware, and AI innovation. Ivanti is headquartered in South Jordan and is a pioneer in the Utah tech community. Our origins began in 1985 as Landesk, which introduced the desktop management category. Today, Ivanti continues to innovate and lead by providing autonomous capabilities to reduce risk for organizations by managing and securing all their devices. IT and security teams are under pressure to ensure a secure and productive workforce and effectively manage risk across complex environments. Organizations need systems that not only detect issues, but also can decide and act securely at scale. Ivanti's autonomous endpoint management capabilities bring together trusted data, intelligent automation, and governed remediation to deliver real outcomes, and more importantly, keep businesses safe. The Utah community remains an important part of our story. You can find out more at Ivanti.com.
Utah is one of the fastest growing tech markets and a major driver of the state's economy. That growth is fueled by a strong talent pipeline and companies like Ivanti. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Inside Sources.
So I don't know if you know this, Greg, but I know a lot of my female listeners might know this. You're out and about minding your own business, and all of a sudden, you got to find a bathroom right now.
I know that experience from my wife. She said, honey, you got to pull over. We're stopping at the next gas station. Well, this story that cracked us up this morning, a professional tennis player at the French Open, his name is Arthur Gaya, and he happens to be French, found himself in a bit of a situation during the match. In fact, he just stopped it right in the match and said, I need to go right now. Usually they only allow this between sets, but he was not having it.
It was an emergency for him, and so this poor guy, right? I don't know if he was sick. He did say that he hadn't been feeling super well that morning, but he was out there playing, and it became a bathroom emergency. He broke the set and said he went to the chair umpire and said, I just can't move anymore. I have to go.
Yeah, he was 135th ranked, and he lost to Karen Khachanov, the Russian. But he made news for doing something, and he said, I'm out of here. And I'm sure everybody watching is going, what's going on here?
He told the chair umpire, he goes, it's going to be on the court if I don't go right now. So I'm so sorry for him.
Good move.
But I feel for him too, right? And I don't know if it was just a factor of pregnancy, but I remember when I was pregnant with my kids, I had to plot where I was going based on where the public bathrooms were. And not every place has public bathrooms, right? But I had to know, because if I had to go, I had to be able to find a place right away.
Yeah.
Yay for babies. Okay, fun facts of the day today. So today it's really interesting. It's actually mental health. It's Hairdressers Mental Health Awareness Day. So the reason it is a mental health awareness day for hairdressers or cosmetologists is because they do more than just hair, right? People come and tell them their life story while they're sitting in the chair. So I don't usually, but it's interesting. So it's a day of awareness that a lot of times the people who are listening to you talk, maybe they're not trained as therapists, but they got to have a chance to have their own mental health.
Yeah.
Okay. So today is May 27th. And it was on this day that Julia Ward Howe was born in 1819. So do you know that name?
Do not
Is
know
that
that
familiar?
name at
okay.
all.
So she was an abolitionist, like anti-slavery. She was a suffragist, so pro-women's rights to vote, supporter of prison reform, and she was the author of the very famous Battle Hymn of the Republic. Mine eyes have seen the glory.
Oh.
That's Julia Ward Howe.
You don't think of the author.
I know.
But
she is the one.
She wrote the words.
Yeah, she wrote the words. It was on this day in 1850 that the LDS temple in Nauvoo, Illinois, had been abandoned by that point as people moved west, but it was destroyed by a tornado, and the whole thing just fell apart.
Was that the first temple?
No, it was the second one.
Hasn't
the first
it been
one was
rebuilt?
Kirtland. Yes,
Okay.
It has been rebuilt. I've been inside. It is absolutely gorgeous.
The Nauvoo temple?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yep.
interesting.
Yep.
That'd be quite a journey to go back there and see that.
It is really, really beautiful. And the wooden spiral staircase, there's pictures of it for sure, but you can stand at the bottom and then just look all the way up to a spire, right? Literally a spire in these just gorgeous staircases. Okay, it was on this day, and this is a sad story. In 1887, there were Chinese gold miners in Hell's Canyon in Idaho, what is now Idaho. They were slaughtered by a gang of white horse thieves. It was one of many hate crimes perpetrated against Asian immigrants in the American West during this period.
Hell's Canyon Massacre, Chinese gold miners.
Yeah, it was just terrible.
I don't remember that story.
There's a lot of stories like this where they kind of get buried, right? Like we don't really want to talk about them, and so we'll just pretend they didn't happen, but it did happen.
Yeah, sad.
It is sad. So it was on this day in 1937 that the Golden Gate Bridge opened, which I think is super interesting, right? So it was when they were, I don't remember all the details, but I know that it was pretty impressive feat of bridge architecture that they were able to get this bridge to go across the Golden Gate there. Area.
I studied engineering before I went to law school, and I have a degree in engineering, and I think about 1937, 90 years ago, literally, and somebody had the wherewithal to engineer something like that across a river, across, to connect, what is it, San Francisco and Oakland or something like that. And you start at one end and you try to make it meet in the middle, and the engineering for something like that and the technology we didn't have computers, we didn't have some of the things we have now, but they did it, and it's still a great monument.
Yeah, it really is. And I just saw a reminder. It was just a few, like within the last week or two, there was an anniversary date of a bridge that they had in Washington State. But this one, the resonance of the wind just hit it just at the right way. And this would be an architecture thing or engineering thing. And it caused it to start going up and down. And the whole thing ended up imploding and crashing.
Oh, yeah. Once they start moving that.
Yeah. Because it resonated at whatever it was, right? The wind. So anyway, that was super impressive. It was on this day, this is another sad story, in 1939 that there were almost 1,000 Jewish refugees on a ship getting away from Nazi Germany. They were turned away from Cuba. They appealed to the United States and to Canada for entry. They were denied. The majority, they were forced to sail back to Europe, and I think the majority of them were killed in concentration camps.
Oh, man, looking back on that, can you imagine?
We turned people away. The Anne Frank family, we turned people away.
937 Jewish refugees. I mean, we were just nobody was understanding what was going on at that time.
I think there were some, but it's hard to wrap your head around. It's like, yeah, that couldn't be true. Okay, it was on this day in 1943 that U.S. Olympian Louis Zamperini's plane was shot down in the Pacific Ocean during World War II. So he is the inspiration behind both the book and the movie called Unbroken. So the story is like wild. So he was an Olympian. Then he's drafted into World War II. He's shot down. While he's there in this little tiny life raft, they have sharks, there's starvation, there's enemy aircraft. He's finally captured by the Japanese Navy. He's held in prisoner of war camps. He's tortured, he's abused, he's beaten. And then he came home and he became known for his resilience and his forgiveness. And he was still alive when they were making the movie Unbroken. And Angelina Jolie, who was involved with the movie, she might have been the director or the producer, I can't remember. But she went, and there's pictures of him with Zamperini and just how gracious and grateful he was that his life story was getting told. It was really fun.
I think I remember that movie. I don't remember who played it, but yeah, that was quite a story and true story. And
true story.
What he went through was just unforgivably cruel.
True story. All right, what are your closing arguments for today?
Well, I want to harken back to something we talked about earlier today and maybe surprise you a little bit, the Amber Alert. And even though the situation we talked about yesterday may not have been solved directly related to the Amber Alert, I want to give a shout out to that system. It was something when it first came out, I don't even remember who Amber was, but somebody that was taken and caused a lot of consternation. We started this thing, and I remember Sunday morning waking up and that distinctive ring that your phone gives. That's no other ring quite like it, and you know something like that has happened. And it does alert you, and it makes you think there's a child who's being abducted, and whatever you're doing at that moment, if you're driving a car, you're outside, you're looking for that gray Mazda with the license plate. You know what I mean? You're like thinking, I'm going to solve this. I'm going to save this. But it becomes national. And I think you told me during the break that Mexico actually has it as well. So maybe the Amber Alert did save. Who knows what happened here? But maybe save some young boys' lives. But at any rate, that situation was solved. The Amber Alert went out, and it's not a hassle. It's not something that really gets you out of your sync or like, why is my phone ringing right now? It's few and far between, but boy, I think the stats, if we really did have all those, you would find that has been a very effective way of helping people and getting kids out of harm's way, especially when they're being taken from often it's by someone they know, like a spouse who's upset, like the example that we talked about where the guy